What's the finger up for? Do you want me to wait?
I can't remember which button to press. This
At
one.
them all. Just do what I do. Just
No, has it changed? No.
no. You go. You
Ah,
good.
here we are.
Ah, see. What confused you?
Don't know. Haven't
just-
looked at them for a week.
See, you've been away for 3 months. We missed you.
It's a week.
Come here, did you have a good week off?
I did. I can't wait now to get back and charge my batteries up again.
Yeah, this is
Full week running after a toddler, you know.
I know.
Need to get back and
It's
sort of.
easier going to work sometimes. I know. Come here, glad to see you.
Hey, Lee, good to be back. Thanks very much. See you tomorrow morning. It's the 9 till noon show just around the corner. But first, at 9, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Police in Strabane have closed Church Street up until the Glen Road junction. The public have been asked to avoid the area. It comes as police and fire service deal with an incident that was reported last night. There's calls for signage to be installed on routes to popular visitor attractions in Inishowen. Councillor Albert Doherty says with the increased tourists to the peninsula, it's important signage is erected warning of farming activities on roads, particularly for those unfamiliar with the area. He also believes certain areas should be designated to residents only.
Many of our estates and many of the people living in the estates would just ask for that little bit of respect and understanding as regards them being eligible to park safely outside their own house. You again want to welcome your visitors, but you're just cautioning, please be wary that this is a residential area and these parking spaces will be used by the residents.
A driver was arrested yesterday after they had driven almost double the speed limit earlier in the week. Gardaí from Buncrana Roads Policing Unit detected the vehicle being driven at 195 km per hour on the M13 a few days ago. The speed limit in that area is 100 km per hour and the road was reported to have been very busy at the time. Gardaí say the driver was charged to appear in court. A new app allows people with bleeding disorders to access key parts of their healthcare records. The National Coagulation Centre at St James's Hospital in Dublin has launched the patient portal to mark World Haemophilia Day today. It will enable patients to communicate on non-urgent matters with their healthcare team. Irish Haemophilia Society Chief Executive Brian O'Mahony says the app has lots of information.
The Society and patients have been involved in the development and testing, but frankly it's quite simple to use. The person on their phone can have access to their diagnosis, their treatment, their vaccination record, their list of appointments. They can also send messages for non-urgent medical queries, and they'll have copies of any letters sent to their GP or other specialists about their health.
Inpatient charges for visits to public hospitals will cease from today. The charge of €80 per day or €800 per year ended at midnight under measures signalled in the Budget 2023. The Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly, says the ending of day charges removes the burden on financially stretched individuals requiring hospital treatment. And now for this morning's weather forecast. Low cloud, mist and fog will break up through the morning, leaving another pleasant day of sunny spells and a scattering of showers. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in light to moderate southeast breezes. That's all for now. We'll be back again with the news in full and obituary notices at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
There's something special about Clayton Hotels. It's me. The way they treat me, wherever I stay, whatever I need. Because their focus is always on me. And you know what? When you visit a Clayton Hotel, their focus will be on you too. Unless I'm there, of course. Save on every room every night when you click on Clayton at ClaytonHotels.com. Clayton Hotels. Our focus is always you.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 3 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 17th of April. I do hope you're very well indeed, and you're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. And it's good to be back after a wee week off last week. Thanks to Donald Kavanagh, as always, looking after things expertly. We have another busy one for you today, but we want you involved by WhatsApp and texting 086 60 25000, 086 60 25000. Give us a call on 07491 25000, or if you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com now. Those of you who wish to watch the show can do so by logging on to YouTube or Facebook. Search out Highland Radio, you'll see us live there. give us a like and a subscribe. It does help, you know. And you can also watch directly on our website. Good morning to Charlie. Thank you for welcoming us back and rightly recognising Donald doing an excellent job. Good morning to you, Anne and Michael, all joining us to watch the stream. Okay, let's have a look at the newspapers for this Monday morning. A bit milder today than yesterday, wasn't it? Really quite pleasant. The Donegal News, their lead story, People of Creasla presented with Donegal Person of the Year. The Bonington Hotel in Dublin hosted up to 400 people on Saturday night for the annual Donegal Person of the Year presentation event, where the people of Creasla were honoured as the 2022 recipients of the award. And we were down there. We were very lucky to be down there for it. And it was obviously going to be incredibly difficult to strike a balance, but I think they did so perfectly. And it was a wonderful honour to the people of Creasla and everyone affected by that awful tragedy. Many highlights. Matt McGranahan performed a unique piece written specifically for the event and for the people, which was really something else. And we hope to have him in live performing that at some time in the not too distant future. We know 10 people were killed and several injured following an explosion at the Applegreen service station in the village of Creasla on Friday, October 7th last year. The community was left numbed by the tragedy, and families, residents, first responders and countless others are still coming to terms with what happened on that Friday afternoon. And it was a very poignant night where family members of some of those killed with people first on the scene of the tragedy came together at the Donegal event in the capital. Many Donegal people travelled to Dublin for the occasion, while Donegal folk living in the city turned out in big numbers in honour to honour Creasla and the courage of community spirit of its people. The Derry News this morning tells us that Bill Clinton, the 42nd President of America, will deliver the keynote address at Derry's Guildhall on Tuesday afternoon. That's tomorrow. The event has been organised by the John and Pat Hume Foundation to present a posthumous tribute to John Hume and David Trimble, 1998 Nobel Peace Prize laureates. On to the nationals now. The Irish Times this morning tells us that a report into the secondment of former Chief Medical Officer Dr. Tony Holohan to Trinity College Dublin concludes that he should not have been involved in aspects of the move. It's understood that the long-awaited report, due to be published as soon as this week, does not contain any adverse findings against Dr. Holohan, but does identify issues with the structure of the process. According to multiple sources with knowledge of the report, it states that the former CMO should not have been exclusively personally involved in negotiation of research funding linked to the appointment. That's not surprising, is it, that was found to be not appropriate. It didn't feel appropriate at the time, and it still isn't. On to the Independent now, and Hillary Clinton has called on Northern Ireland's political parties to get back into business as she praised the Windsor Framework as an opportunity during an event in Belfast. Speaking at a Washington Ireland programme event yesterday, Mrs Clinton, who is the current Chancellor of Queen's University, praised the deal between the UK and the EU to address the Northern Ireland Protocol. Given the Windsor Framework, this is an opportunity unlike any for growth, investment and business expansion, because Northern Ireland now has a unique and privileged position, she said. Ms Clinton and her husband, former US President Bill Clinton, are in Belfast to attend events marking the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. Okay, and that runs all week. I think there's a 3-day conference, isn't there? Which will be well attended, I'm sure. And you can watch it online too. We'll tell you more about that maybe a little later in the week. On to the Irish Daily Mail now. And Taoiseach Leo Varadkar is just 2 bad opinion polls away from being axed by his own party after barely 100 days back as Taoiseach. Members of Fine Gael have warned, though I don't believe that for a second, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's what this article says. Unease is rife within the party after a recent poll put Fine Gael at 15%, a result that could see the party drop to 20 seats or fewer and be consigned to the margins of political life. In a politically embarrassing move, the dissident wing of the party plans to grill Mr Varadkar at Fine Gael's notoriously leaky parliamentary party meeting this week. One rep source said the 15% 15% won't be magicked away. Some of the so-called usual suspects will raise it at next week's parliamentary party meeting. Another respected Fine Gael TD said of Mr Varadkar, he won't be sacked on the basis of one opinion poll, but if there are two more, he is gone. And he said about Enda, nothing... as he said about Enda, nothing personal, just business. That poll was the talk of the party on 15%. It's not just a few country TDs that are gone. They're all gone. Pascal Donoghue, Neil Richmond, Pika Burke, even Leo himself. He carved out a seat brilliantly when he was young, but at 15%, he's gone, they warned. So that's coming apparently from within the party, though I don't buy it for a second. And also, it's difficult... those figures don't always translate, do they, into how many seats one might win or lose. But anyway, still, there's a lot of work to do to bounce back from that. The Irish Daily Star this morning, the bill for housing Ukrainian refugees in Ireland will hit $1 billion within weeks, figures revealed. The state has so far paid out $840 million, of which $350 was spent since the beginning of this year. The Department for Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth, which is responsible for looking after Ukrainians who came here to flee the war, confirmed most of the money was used to provide accommodation. It's understood that millions owed to housing providers across the country, in as many cases 3 to 5 months in arrears, were paid up to date last week. Obviously, they're paying the expensive ones, the hotels, the sort of people that have made little business out of it and not so little at all. I wonder if any of you contacted offering accommodation to the council. Do you remember they said it would all be sorted within 2 weeks? Have they taken up any of those offers? Is there... are any Ukrainian refugees being moved to that cheaper accommodation, I wonder? A department spokesperson said this year the department has paid out almost $350 million. This has been paid out on a weekly basis, rising steadily over time. This week and last week, the department paid out a somewhat larger volume of payments than in previous weeks, including a number of very overdue invoices in line with our commitment to prioritise these. And that's... something this government, whatever government, is going to have to continue to provide for the foreseeable future, I would imagine. The Irish Sun this morning, some American media outlets have blasted Joe Biden for taking a taxpayer-funded family reunion to Ireland. The US president's 4-day Irish trip was toasted as a success here, but many critics stateside said it had no political purpose. Now, the problem with American media, and it's getting that way here, is you have a camp that's pro-Biden and a camp that's anti-Biden, and never the twain shall meet. So I really... trying to gauge what it all means looking at the American media, it doesn't make much sense. It depends where it was broadcast, of course. But we know Biden flew first to the north to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. He then spent 3 days meeting Irish dignitaries and visiting his ancestral homes in Louth and Mayo. So what did you think of it all? I know we've kind of talked about this a bit, but we haven't been on air since he addressed the crowds in Mayo and what have you. I think the bill for the Republic here for us effectively was $50 million. Now, I'm not sure if I dreamt that or read it. I'm sure I read it, which is a big amount of money. But given the connection between the countries, given the amount of American companies here and so on and so forth, do you believe that was money well spent? The phoning from the media, very regrettable from my perspective, to be honest with you. Not a single critical question or point made. It's as if many of the journalists were all just part of the party, which I just don't think is very helpful. But anyway, that's just me as a consumer, not necessarily as someone who works in radio. In the Irish Daily Mirror today, it's one of these stories that's important to talk about, but I know if you've got a young one in the house that's not feeling well at the moment, or you're just a bit of a worrier, and I think we all worry about our children, these types of stories too are very distressing, but that they are important in terms of making us aware and trusting our instincts. I think even if we go to a GP or an out of hours service with the children, I think you have to trust your instincts. I know I talked about this before I was away, but I just feel it's really important. The parents of a 10-year-old girl who died after contracting strep A urged other parents to make themselves aware of the seriousness of the condition. In 2019, the Murphys from Mill Street in County Cork watched little Vivian deteriorate rapidly after she complained of a sore throat and had a rash. She told RTE The nightmare began on Valentine's Day. Dermot Murphy collected his daughter from school and told how she was more subdued than usual and had less energy, but within hours she was seriously ill. Despite being told by 3 different doctors that their daughter's illness was viral, the Murphys still had their doubts. Mum Lily said that after 5 days the rash was really angry looking and Vivian had pain and swelling in her leg. They panicked. The panicked parents rushed their daughter to Quote University Hospital, where a black mark was found on her leg. It was growing rapidly, and the parents were told that their girl had a bacterial infection that had led to sepsis, and she was going into shock. Dermot said the black mark was moving up her body, and she would have to be taken to Temple Street in Dublin for amputation. After surgery, Vivian went into cardiac arrest, causing brain damage. The parents made the difficult decision to take her off life support, and she died on March 1st of 2019. And God help them, and fair play to them for speaking out, though. It's just really important, as I say, I understand that there's a reluctance to give out antibiotics, because you give out too many or you take too many and they lose their effectiveness, but I think sometimes you kind of have to say, or do you? We really need these just to be on the safe side. I don't know. It's hard to know what the right thing is. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, as you know, don't you? 086 60 25,000. Get involved in the conversation. Have your say. You can give us a call too on 074 91 25,000. We're taking your calls on that number as well. Also, another wee thing just spotted in the paper, which I thought was the Irish Independent, I thought was a remarkable statistic, that sun-starved Irish shoppers now account for more than 60% of global sales of self-tan by pennies. With our often grey skies making our penchant for tanned limbs a bit tricky, it's hardly surprising Irish shoppers account for the vast bulk of the retailers' fake tan sales, outbuying shoppers across Europe and as far away as the US. But I don't think it's all about the sun either. I think people now more so than ever are recognising the dangers of too much exposure to the sun, and I think maybe that's part of it as well. So 60% of the global sales in Ireland, about 5% of that at least, are on the knuckles and the knees. But anyway, we'll be back with more of the 9 till noon show after these.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The CFC Interiors Dairy Stock Disposal Sale is now on. Due to overstock, an incredible £1.5 million worth of stock must go. Don't miss our highest ever discount on selected ranges across all departments. The Stock Disposal Sale at CFC Interiors Dairy, Cookstown and Abbey Centre. Sale now on.
You may have heard others making claims, but there's only one number one, and it's official. The Kia Sportage is now Donegal's best-selling car in 2023. Call in today to iMotors Letterkenny or Malin, or visit imotors.ie to find out why the Kia Sportage is Donegal's best-selling car.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranraer.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at
Okay, the time is 18 minutes past 9. Councillor Albert Doherty joins us on the programme, and it's Deja Vu, it's Groundhog Day. And that's no offence to you, Albert, because we're talking again about poor road signage in the Inishowen area as we approach into another tourist season that arguably perhaps has even begun already. Is it the same problems? We just can't get the basics right sometimes, I think, Albert.
Well, as you're saying, we've had a bumper week or 10 days there with many, many activities, many, many visitors, and I think congratulations to all involved. But with that as well has come a number of incidents where local residents would have highlighted maybe their service roads being blocked by a visitor's car, or local residents saying their own local areas where they were unavailable to park their cars. And indeed, in rural parts, the farming community saying we have to carry on our farmer business. We love people visiting our resorts, people visiting our local headlands and walks. However, we need some signage or need some alertness for our visitors to say, slow down, take care, or be sensitive to the needs of families or residents who are here all the time in our community.
Right, so is there a particular problem area? Are you talking a peninsula-wide approach? And listen, we're talking about Inishowen at the moment, but I'm sure there are people listening in other high traffic volume areas of the county that will relate to this. Are we talking maybe a county-wide audit or some sort of consultation?
I think it's county-wide. I mean, Fudge Ireland launched publicity there. They're welcome to Donegal, and that's something we're all very proud of, highlighting the county, highlighting the Wild Atlantic Way, highlighting the Inishowen 100, the drives, the resorts, the visiting in our own Mallinhead and Alpaca Way. However, the visitors, I'm saying that the council should be able to alert visitors where they can and when they can that we're in a rural area, or please be wary and sensitive to the needs of residents, and that there are parking facilities and there are opportunities to park, but just be sensitive to the needs of locals and the needs of the farming community.
So what is actually happening here? I know you've had some contact from people, but, just to cut to the chase, are people accessing people's land, parking in the land, blocking entrance to fields?
No, I think
what kind of stuff's happening?
In the rural areas, all the farming community and people that have contacted me would be saying, can we alert and direct signage which indicates please take care, animals crossing,
I get you. The basic stuff.
Farmer at work,
and we're heading into silage season as well, so we're going to see even more agricultural vehicles on the roads lightly. See, this is the type of stuff needs almost immediate action, Albert. We can't really wait till September or October or the concerns of people aren't being addressed.
Because this isn't just something I'd be asking council to respond to in the last week. In previous years, we've done it as well. And I think the council are also hindered by they're adhering to a national signage
policy,
plan.
Really, isn't it? Yeah.
And there are items that we might want in our locality that aren't on that national plan of signs that are advertised, and the council locally feel, we may be unable to help you there. And then I think there should be support and encouragement for, if example, in the farming, that they can erect their own signage, and maybe any guidelines and assistance there would be welcome. And then back to what also came up in the week or two past, is to be sensitive to the locals who live there. And I would have been given incidents where perhaps someone has gone on their school run, and when they come back into their local estate, their parking place is occupied, and maybe occupied for a significant number of hours or for the day. And that's where I also mentioned maybe residents only or residents parking. It's
now,
about being sensitive to the needs of all, and wary of what's happening in rural parts as well.
I think we do have to be a wee bit careful, though, and that's perhaps why there are policies in terms of signage, because very quickly things can get very, very messy. And I'm sure you've got tidy towns groups in the area that you represent that might have a say on how much signage goes up and where as well. Like, it can't be ad hoc either.
No, I'd be wary of that. We certainly do have very, very active tidy town groupings here who, and throughout the peninsula and the county, who'd like to look at and analyse what results come back after an annual tidy town assessment, and be it signage, but whatever, they can be very wary as to what is appropriate. But it's really, what I'm asking is for the council to respond where they can to assist with parking, to respond where they can in respect to safety, to adhere to, or to invite motorists to adhere to please keep service roads clear and be wary that emergency vehicles may be called to these estates. And all in all, it's just good citizenship.
Okay, well, we've put it out there now. We'll see what we get back on that. Thank you very much indeed. That is Councillor Albert Doherty there. He's calling for, as you heard, signage to be installed on routes to popular visitor attractions in Inishowen, warning of farming activities and residents-only areas. Have you got a real-life story of how that might affect you? As I say, not exclusively in Inishowen. I presume it is something that happens right around the region. 086 60 25,000, WhatsApp and text to that number, 086 08660 25,000 I haven't read that number in a week or so. Well done to Stromore National School students who will represent Ireland at the VEX Robotics World Championships in Dallas, Texas from April 25th to May 4th. You know, the talented team of students. We had a couple of their representatives on this show. They'd created a robot that had to fulfill certain functions and did so well. And they were doing a bit of a fundraiser to try and get the students out there. Well, obviously they were successful because they're heading out. Safe journeys to them, and we wish them great success. The VEX Robotic World Championships in Dallas are huge and a real prestigious event, and it's great to see them in attendance. Right, okay. Peter Madden is committee member of Solid Fuel Merchants Ireland, and he joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Peter. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
I would say we're talking now about coal smuggling. I think that's what it's called. It sounds a bit dramatic, but I suppose that's what it is. It's illegally brought into Ireland from Northern Ireland. 56 million euro it's costing the industry. I would say a big portion of that is around the border counties, Peter.
It would be, I suppose, concentrated around the border counties, but it has gone further down. It has been an issue down further in the Republic down to the years, and has been greatly exacerbated since the smoky ban back in October of last year, where bituminous and smoky coal was banned in the Republic through the Air Quality Act. So,
and Peter, when we talk about this, like, just to break it down into sort of like a pie chart for me, how much of this is sort of businesses buying this coal to try and please their customers, I'm sure, buying this coal, you know, and bringing it across the border in a flatbed, you know, in bulk, and how much of this is sort of, you know, people going back and forwards for 3 or 4 bags? Like, what makes up the 56 million?
We're actually trying to break that down at the moment due to the lack of enforcement. It's very hard to track. Those figures are based on a study that was done with Primetime Investigates back in October 21. So we at the moment are asking for better enforcement and a licensing process where if you are a fuel merchant in the Republic of Ireland, that you register and have a license so the inspections can take place. So if you don't have a license, the questions are asked why and where you're getting your stuff from, where you're getting your supplies from, and we'll be able to take it from there. But as I said, since October of last year, our members have seen a serious downturn in their business due to the issue that they cannot sell the smoky products anymore.
And then as well too, though, how can you make sure that that's not because that people are being taxed out of and legislated out of burning coal, or maybe they're switching to turf or wood or something else, or maybe they're getting rid of the open fire altogether? Is it possible to sort of break down the impacts that might have versus the illegal importation of coal, this type of coal?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
How do we know that because of VAT increases or tax increases that people aren't moving away from coal rather than buying illegal coal? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's plain to be seen at our doors that, you know, our customers haven't changed, but they're coming back to us. Where a person was buying 10 bags, they're now only buying 3 bags. And that's down to the market increase in the price of coal and the carbon tax difference between the north and the south. You're looking at the moment, €4.90 price difference per bag in a bag of coal, and that's going to increase to €5.80 come the end of this month. So it's pretty easy to see your customer is using something else. Yes, what are they using? We don't know. I mean, there hasn't been a major influx of retrofitting or anything in the towns that we see. The feedback we're getting from our members on the door is people are buying less or they just stop buying at all. And we see it on the doorsteps. We see the different bags on the doorsteps. We see the different products on the doorsteps. We see these guys going around. They are... If you're doing your rounds on a particular day and you go around the following day and you miss a customer, but there's a different bag at the door, well, they bought it off somebody else, and that's what you're selling.
And also, too, how much of it do you think is... I know this is anecdotal, Peter. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but, you know, it's the type of coal you can get as well. I would know people that prefer the old dirty coal. They find that the coal available in the Republic doesn't burn quite as well. So is that a factor as well as the cost, do you think?
Yes. I mean... Okay, the new products in smoky coal they're very good, but they don't perform that well in an open fire. There is a demand for the smoky coal. It does perform better in an open fire, especially with a back boiler. It is a traditional thing, I suppose. People like the flame and the homeliness of it. And there is a case there that maybe people need to adapt to maybe fire doors or inserts or whatever for their open fires for the smokeless coal to perform better. But there is a demand out there for it. And while there is a demand and you have 2 different laws in 2 different jurisdictions on the one island, you're going to have this anomaly.
Yeah. But Peter, you would have saw this coming. You're not the first industry to be affected by sort of decisions made in Dublin that don't really recognise the fact that whether people like it or not, there is another jurisdiction on this island. You know, I'm thinking of minimum price pricing of alcohol, for an example. Do you know what I mean? If you live in Donegal or run a business in Donegal, you are going to see more people cross the border to get it cheaper. And as I say, Peter, you would have seen this coming, that you haven't just woken up and thought, well, where are all our customers going? We knew this was going to happen in advance.
Yes, we did see it coming, and we were told, but the only communication we got with regards to the implementation of the new regulations was from our suppliers. We were given a date at which smoky coal would not be available anymore. If we had overbought our smoky coal products, we were stuck with them after the 31st of August. We weren't allowed to return them. We weren't allowed to sell it. So you made the comparison there with alcohol. Alcohol is a licensed product, and you can be checked, and you can. There's an enforcement process there. There has been absolutely zero enforcement in this new law in the Republic since it began, and none of our members have been inspected. We were told we would be inspected. We were told that if we were found in breach, the product would be confiscated and we would be fined. None of them have been inspected. We have an open door policy. We're trying to work. We're trying to comply, and we've been left dying the vine.
And ironically, you and the government at this point now, the decision has been made. You're on the same side of the argument in that, I presume, Eamon Ryan and others don't want particularly dirty coal being burnt in the Republic. Now, I'm not saying it's all that. There's a price differential across the board. But I mean, what I'm saying is that you're on the same side of the argument now in that you want enforcement, and presumably the Green Party and others also want enforcement.
Indeed. I mean, we're not climate change deniers by any means. We are the people on the ground, and we want to work with the authorities, working hand in hand with the authorities to try and implement this clean air policy and make the changes going forward. I mean, we are not ready for the green process as such yet. I mean, there's still over 500,000 homes using solid fuels, many of them relying on solid fuels all of the time, and while there is that demand there's going to be a market for coal. So if you have that many houses in the Republic using solid fuels, there's going to be a demand for this illicit product. So that's why we need the enforcement.
Yeah, and does it feel a bit, though, in terms of coal, that maybe it's a sunset industry and that, you know, you've got the factors we've been talking about now. You have got also a certain amount of people, quite a lot of people, I imagine, that are cutting back on the burning of coal because of the cost implications of it. Is there a sense within the industry that it is in an irreversible decline?
Yes, and we will be looking for funding and support for any of our members, for all of our members that are in that situation where any of those new legislation that's coming in that's going to affect our business, we're going to be looking for support and funding for it.
OK, thanks for your time this morning, Peter. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, that's Peter Madden, committee member of Solid Fuel Merchants Ireland. 086 60 25,000 if you have a view on that, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. A listener says, please make parents aware. My son goes to college at McGee in Northern Ireland. We opted for this so we wouldn't be faced with the accommodation crisis and he could travel each day. We got approved for the Susie grant, but this was not transferable to a college in Northern Ireland, and we didn't know this until after he started. We are paying huge fees, which we really can't afford. We wish you had stayed in Southern Ireland. Okay, so made that decision. It's a great college as well, don't get me wrong, but obviously with the cost of accommodation, it seemed like a better option. But they say that the Susie grant is not transferable to a college in Northern Ireland. 086 60 25,000. Some comment here on the school system. Donna says, I'm having to fight all year for my son and daughter to get the correct funds for the resource classes for junior and leaving cert. Not enough teachers in the correct subject, and taking on other stuff like LCA and extra TY classes, and the ones with resources are left suffering. That's already in the school, and other nationalities can come in and not have this issue. Again, 074 91 25,000 if you wish to have an opinion on that or to raise your own.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor, 07495 325 75.
Attention all pet lovers and owners. Gary's Pet World Letterkenny is open 7 days per week, offering the very best value on all pet foods, accessories, grooming and care products. Call in and let our staff help you spoil your pet today. You will be amazed by the range of product for all pets, with exceptional value on all leading brands. Alternatively, you can browse and buy online at petworld.ie and we will deliver to your home.
Irish National Opera presents the French classic romantic opera Werther, a masterly portrayal of hopeless love between the passionate poet Werther and a married woman. An opera full of sweeping melodies, including one of the world's most famous tenor arias. At Angreenan Theatre, Letterkenny on Saturday the 22nd of April. Tickets from €27. See angreenan.ie. Funded by the Arts Council.
Raymond emailed to say, I'm not a Joe Biden fan by any means, but on a personal level, you have to give him the space and the credit given how he emotionally responded to meeting the priest who had given last rites to his son, Beau, on his visit to Knock. Joe Biden is a human being, just like the rest of us. The US press should have left him alone. I think they were just envious, not to mention being still anti-Irish, he believes. Has Councillor Doherty made any representations to the council requesting they buy the 4-hectare site in Carndonagh that would be ideal for social housing? Another, what about the sewage flowing into the sea and rivers in Donegal? Not great for tourism. What's the environmental team in Donegal doing about this? Another, fantastic to see Joe Biden welcomed with open arms by Ireland's clergy to Knock Shrine and Ballina, or Ballina as he called it. Is this a sign that the church is relaxing its opposition to abortion and possibly same-sex marriage in the future? I don't see it as any sign in that regard. Right, yeah, like the people going into Derry with tanks to bring out oil, earning their money in the south and not even getting the local oil men to deliver. Greedy, greedy people, disgraceful. Some people, though, are compelled to purchase things when they're cheaper because of the money that they have available to them. I'm not in any way excusing it. It's not for me to judge, but I understand perhaps sometimes. We have a stove, the smokeless duck eggs. The smokeless duck eggs give off absolutely no heat at all. We've just stopped buying coal and are buying more oil to heat the radiators. We've gone from lighting the fire every day to maybe one day a week or 2 weeks. I find it's hit and miss. Sometimes they light up and they're great. Other times they don't seem to light at all in the open fire, and then you get up in the morning and you're sitting there with a lovely fire, all a little bit too late. A caller says, I will use my so-called dirty coal, regulations or none. It's not a fossil fuel, nor is turf. They are plant fuels, which is, I don't know, coal is a plant fuel. I understand where you're coming from, but I think you might be just sort of trying to justify your decision, which is fine. It's up to you what you do. As I say, I'm not here to judge. Another, so I think smokeless coal providers should be doing more to educate people on why it's better than high sulphur alternatives. Maybe that will encourage more people to buy the smokeless coal they provide. Another, I didn't hear one comment on the health impacts of burning coal indoors during that conversation, and that's a missed opportunity. Indeed, I get where you're coming from, and it's something we talk about regularly on this programme. You sit in your front room with an open fire if you've got respiratory problems, or even if not, you are inhaling a lot of stuff you shouldn't be. And unfortunately, we have a very high rate of people's issues with breathing and what have you in this county. There's no doubt about that, because we've spoken to the professionals in that area. How stupid is it? You can burn smoky coal in Strabane, but you can't in Lifford. We're all living under the one sky. Another, Greg, that smokeless coal has awful fumes off it and tons of ashes and waste, far more than ordinary coal. But I suppose it's the damaging stuff that it emits. Right, okay. Pat Griffin is Senior Inspector with the Health and Safety Authority. We are beginning a 2-week national inspection campaign with a focus on the safe use of tractors and quad bikes, ATVs they're called as well, on farms. As I say, Pat Griffin, Senior Inspector with Health and Safety, the Health and Safety Authority. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, so give us the background stats really that make this type of initiative warranted and important.
Yeah, well, I suppose agriculture has probably the worst rate of fatal accidents in the workplace. So over the last 10 years, we've 190 deaths on farms, which is a shocking number. And we send our sympathies to anyone that's affected by these fatalities. And over that 10-year period, there's 86 people have been killed with tractors and other vehicles. So we're trying to focus the attention of farmers on the safe use of their tractors and other vehicles like quads and loaders. And we're coming out now and having this campaign because silage harvesting season is coming up soon, and tractors and vehicles will be out on the roads again, out in fields, and there's going to be a huge amount of work done to gather the amount of feed that's needed for our population of animals,
Yeah, and we talk about deaths and people losing their lives, and of course that is the important headline figure. But I presume there are many multiples of that number, people who are out of action, can't work, even maybe life-changing injuries.
Yeah, there's many very serious injuries on farms, and like we don't get reports from farmers of their injuries. We get probably 80 reported per year. But when we rely on the National Farm Survey, we've actually got 4,500 serious farm injuries every year. So fatalities is only the top of the iceberg. It's actually the most horrendous thing for a farm family to have a farm fatality on their farm. So we need to stop the fatalities, and we need to stop these very serious accidents. And a lot of them come down to the operation of tractors and quads. And we're trying to come out with this 2-week campaign to ask farmers and contractors indeed, to start to do some preparation for the silage season. And while many farmers will use the same contractors every year, sometimes the drivers change and sometimes the conditions on the ground change. So, the farmer and the contractor need to be working together. They need to make sure that the drivers and the operators of the tractors and vehicles are going to be competent, that the machinery is checked, like checking the brakes, checking the hitching systems, making sure that there's a good combination of equipment there. And even looking at the system of work that they're going to use in the traffic management, giving a few sort of hints to their drivers about making sure that yard safety can be kept safe, having one-way systems, priority to certain drivers and certain loaders, and then maybe even putting up a mirror at a blind spot on the farm, so that the yard safety can be done a lot better this year. So there's a lot of work that can be done, and we've prepared a new code of practice a number of years ago, and there's a particular risk assessment checklist within that. And I'd ask farmers and contractors to go into the new code of practice and look into the harvesting checklist. If they go down through those and answer all those questions and put things right, we can have a safer and less injurious campaign this year.
So what way will the campaign work then? Because, I mean, obviously there's an inspection element to it, but then you look at maybe some of the demographics of those that have lost their lives, and is it maybe to an important element informing people how to use equipment safely and what to check before you use the equipment, if you know what I mean? So how will you balance all that over the course of the next 2 weeks, and how do you actually engage? Are you calling out to farms, or what's happening?
Yeah, we're doing routine inspections. So, I hope to have about 15 to 20 inspectors out over the next couple of weeks. They will do routine inspections on farmyards. They'll look to find the larger farm where there'll be a lot more action. They'll talk to the farmer and ask him a few questions about how they're going to deal with silage harvesting this year. They'll give him a few pointers and give him some ideas on how to improve things. I must say that farmers generally do a great job, but the amount of silage cut and the amount of work done on farms is incredible. They do a very good job, but I think we can even do better. We can actually stop some of these other fatalities. The other thing that the inspector will be bringing to their attention when they do visit the farm is the new quad safety regulations. These regulations require training. It's mandatory training and the mandatory wearing of helmets from the 20th of November this year. So we're trying to encourage farmers to get out there now and try to get this training done and don't put it on the long finger.
In terms of just a quick one on the ATVs there, is it the case that if after it's mandated, if you don't wear a helmet on a quad, your insurance might not be valid?
I would think so. But that is down to the insurance companies that cover these.
Understood,
farms.
I get you. Yeah. And then there's third party and first party and all that kind of stuff. Someone says, why don't we have something as simple as roll bar on quads? Why aren't they mandated?
Well, roll bars on quads are available. They are considered a safety accessory and they can be fitted to a quad bike. But they have to be CE marked. So there's a few CE marked quad overturn devices in this country. They're not mandatory in that there hasn't been enough research done to absolutely rule out the possibility of these rollover devices actually doing damage to the operator.
Exactly. Well, in a way, unless you were contained within the vehicle, like by a seatbelt or something, you could actually be injured by the roll bar if you happen to be thrown from the quad, presumably.
Yeah,
so I get that, actually. That makes sense.
Some of the manufacturers of quads are saying that now, but there's research going on in Australia and New Zealand, and we're tracking that closely.
In terms of this campaign, right? Can your people sort of say, we see problems here, is there a level of enforcement here, or is this about advice and guidance, Pat?
Oh, it's about enforcement as well.
Yeah.
Inspectors will generally try to work with the farmer, and farmers are generally very cooperative and very compliant once issues are pointed out to them. So normally when an inspector will point out a few things, the farmer say, yeah, you're right, I should have had that right, I'll get it done. But if the inspector forms the opinion that there's a bit of resistance there, that the farmer doesn't really see the point of it, the inspector can make a decision on the ground to say, well, I'm going to actually issue a legal notice, a legal document that will require you to do this, and that's called an improvement notice. And if a machine is in such a bad order that the inspector forms the opinion that it could be dangerous to actually operate it, the inspector can issue a prohibition notice to prohibit the use of that machine. So we have our legal powers, but normally we get full cooperation from farmers once they get things that are pointed out to them. They're generally very compliant in that way.
Okay, and it's all about reducing and limiting as much as we possibly can deaths in and around farms.
Yeah, and I would appeal to farmers and contractors when this work is going on to make sure that yard safety is looked at very, very closely. There's no place for children or elderly people that mightn't have the speed of movement. These people should be kept out of the yard, out of these busy times, and children shouldn't be carried in these tractors and large machines. That practice has to stop. We have to protect them. They are vulnerable.
All right, thanks for your time this morning. That's Pat Griffin, Senior Inspector with the Health and Safety Authority. 08660 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
In 2003, the Special Olympics changed Ireland forever. 20 years later, we continue to transform the lives of children and adults with an intellectual disability. Some athletes will represent their country. Some will learn to run, jump, or even speak for the first time at a Special Olympics club. But all will laugh, compete, and belong together. Please support them by donating today at specialolympics.ie or give what you can to our bucket collectors on Friday, April 21st. Thank you.
April is a time for wellness, so why not treat yourself at the award-winning V-Spa set within the confines of the 4-star Villa Rose Hotel Ballybuffet. As a sanctuary of relaxation, the V-Spa specialises in advanced skincare and facials together with chemical peels and microneedling. This April, the V-Spa have created a collection of spa packages that will leave you feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. View the spring spa packages and overnight escapes online today on villarose.ie.
Farmers know when it's time to get moving. Like when the alarm goes off first thing in the morning, they know it's time to move the herd in for milking. And when it comes to insurance, farmers are discovering why it's time for another move. With AXA Smart Farm Insurance, switching couldn't be easier. You don't have to fill out any long documents to join, so the process is as pain-free as possible. So, if you're paying more than you should be, ask yourself, is it time for a move? For a quote, search axa.ie/farm. AXA. Know you can. Terms and conditions apply. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Lanzarote is back. Check out our new weekly flights to Lanzarote with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
OK, let's have a look at that weather forecast for what's left of today, which is most of it, thankfully. Low cloud, mist and fog will break up through the morning, leaving another pleasant day of sunny spells and a scattering of showers. Highest temperatures 15 to 17 degrees in light to moderate southeast breezes. Lots of you interested in the conversation about coal. Greg, just last month, my carbon monoxide alarm went off for the first time. Never done so before. Only thing I had changed was that I was burning smokeless coal. There has to be more fumes in this than the ordinary coal. I'm not really quite sure about that, but just be really careful, please, because it could be a number of things that could be triggering that alarm. Make sure it's not out of date and so on and so forth, and stay safe. A caller says, if our government stopped ripping people off, then the people could afford to heat their homes. They are the cause of all this. With the wages they claim, it doesn't affect them. Another, why has coal smokeless not come down in price in line with home heating oil and petrol and diesel? A lot of it's carbon taxes, isn't it? I'm not really sure how much of that coal is made up of the kind of products that you talk of. I really don't know. I know someone that mixes coal. His bags are open. That mixes coal? I don't know. Maybe, they provide it mixed? Do they? A mix of smokeless and none? I don't know. If it's smokeless coal, why is there still smoke coming out of my chimney? Well, I think it's what's in the smoke, maybe, rather than not smoking at all. But again, this is not my area of expertise. Maybe we need to get someone on that is an expert. A caller says, and probably some of the people doing this are getting the fuel allowance, then heading into the north for cheaper stuff. That's why all these allowances should be paid out in vouchers for. I just can't understand that lots of people are unaware that if you are approved for a Susie grant in the Republic of Ireland, you can't get it in Northern Ireland. This is very unacceptable for people living in Donegal in close proximity to Northern Ireland, but fees are huge in there. And another one, we should be doing all we can to stop people burning coal in homes. It's highly carcinogenic, and the fact we have companies still profiting off of this and marketing coal at home is really disappointing. Now, I want to mention tea with the Maggies is taking place on Saturday, the 22nd of April at 7:30pm in the Irish Cultural Centre in Hammersmith. Trina and Mairead Ní Donal and Mairead Ní Mooney, Moya Brennan are all involved. On Saturday, doors open at 7:30pm, on stage at 8. Sunday, doors open at 7, on stage at 7:30. With experiences born of years in the music industry and an eagerness to reveal unexplored and untold possibilities, Tea with the Maggies are Trina, Mairead Ní Mooney and Moya Brennan. As I mentioned, these true Celtic women have plied their talents internationally for decades, achieving respect from their peers while picking up awards and commercial success along the way, not to mention the adoration of fans from all walks of life around the world. So that's going to be a great night if you're anywhere near the Irish Cultural Centre Hammersmith. And also on Saturday evening in Dublin, we did have a performance there from Moya Brennan and Mairead Ní Mooney, and they were excellent as always, and struck a perfect tone. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Mary Coyle joins us now of Donegal Cancer Flights and Services. And again, more flights carrying cancer patients from Donegal to Dublin are cancelled. Mary, how often are these flights being cancelled now?
Well, I suppose this past week, it's if they haven't been cancelled, some of them have been running late, maybe 2 hours late, maybe 3 hours late. So we've kind of had a week of it, and we thought it was settling down as we had a couple of months ago. We had a really where we had 12 days in a row that flights were cancelled, but it seems to be that it's kind of happening now again, and it's impacting very much on the service that we provide.
And also, too, it can be difficult to secure an appointment, and I'm sure those that are given their time to meet patients aren't happy if they don't turn up.
Well, that's it. As you say, it's very difficult to get appointments in Dublin, and people are waiting for appointments. People are going up for treatment, they're going up for operations that are scheduled, and then, you know, if the flight doesn't go, they're going to have to wait another couple of weeks for their appointment again. And I think, you know, what we're afraid of as well is that people will not think that the service is reliable. And at the moment, it's not reliable.
Yeah.
And I can only praise the staff that are in Donegal Airport. They are doing their very best. And I spoke to Eilish, the manager there this morning, and all they have really is that it's operational problems, that's all they know at the moment. And it's very difficult for them as well, because they're down there with the patients, with not just the patients, people that are flying up for business and everything else. They can't help it, it's a very difficult one.
It's got to the stage too, or we're very close to it. People aren't going to risk it. They're going to put alternative, more difficult arrangements in place because the frequency is too often. So, is the company saying anything? Yeah, of course, and I get it, Mary. Is the airline saying anything?
No, the airline, I think, it's difficult enough for Donegal Airport to get in touch with the airline, never mind us trying to get in touch. The last time that this happened, we tried several times to get in touch with the airline. We wrote to them. We told them that we weren't happy with the service, that it wasn't reliable, it wasn't good for patients. And to be quite honest with you, we didn't really hear back from them at all.
Right, that's disappointing, Mary. We're going to try and make contact with them and see what they have to say, because it's like the boy that cried wolf, isn't it? You're just going to try and endure the journey the other way. If you aren't sure, you don't feel sure, you're going to get to see your consultant or your doctor. Okay, Mary, listen, thank you for that brief update on that. And as I say, we're going to make our inquiries as well to try and get to the bottom of it, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Greg.
Mary Coyle of Donegal Cancer Flights and Services. We're going to be going to the news now, which will be just a minute late.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Donegal County Council would like to invite the residents of the Stranraer and Cavan Lower local areas and other interested parties to participate in the first public consultation for the N15 Corcam Benz Road scheme. The aim of the consultation is to receive feedback on the preliminary options prior to the deciding on the emerging preferred option. A public display of the study area constraints and route options will take place in Keys Hotel, Stranraer on Thursday, 20th of April between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. County Council staff and their design consultants will be present on the day to listen to and to register your views. For additional project information, please contact the Donegal National Roads Office on 074 97 24 500 or design at dnrdo.ie.
Avril, stop playing with the Bunsen burner. Harry, does he look like he wants a face tattoo? Teaching kids what's right and wrong is important. That's why Bank of Ireland are teaching over 418,000 students in primary and secondary schools the financial literacy skills that will help them get it right in later life. Because your financial well-being is our priority. Register your school today. Search Bank of Ireland Schools. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news just after 10 o'clock. Donegal citizens need to be seen as equals to the rest of Ireland. That's the opinion of Councillor Michael Colin McGilla Asbog. He has called on the government to take action following yet another flight cancellation from Donegal Airport to Dublin. He says the lack of service is simply not good enough.
Been a couple of weeks there that there wasn't any cancellation, but now here we have last week, yet again today, and it's not good enough. And the Minister and the government needs to step up. This attitude that Donegal doesn't really exist isn't good enough. It's not just in relation to our public transport and in all other aspects. And we need to be listened to. People in Donegal are as important as anywhere else in the country, and we deserve a service equal to anywhere else.
More high-profile visitors are in Northern Ireland this week as events continue to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. A major conference is taking place at Queen's University and will feature keynote speeches from former US President Bill Clinton and former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern. James Gould looks forward to today.
Hillary Clinton, Mary McAleese, Jonathan Powell and peace deal negotiator, former US Senator George Mitchell are just some of the famous names taking part in today's event, with Tony Blair and Bill Clinton speaking over the week as well. The conference will cover 4 different themes of the Good Friday Agreement, with today's titled Reflect. There's a heavy police presence across the city, especially in the university area, with the campus on an effective lockdown until Wednesday.
A driver was arrested yesterday after they had driven almost double the speed limit earlier in the week. Gardaí from Buncrana Roads Policing Unit detected the vehicle being driven at 195 km per hour on the M13 a few days ago. The speed limit in that area is 100 km per hour and the road was reported to be very busy at the time. Gardaí say the driver was charged to appear in court. The Special Criminal Court is expected to return a verdict in the trial of Jerry the Monk Hutch this morning. Mr Hutch and 2 other men pleaded not guilty to the murder of David Byrne in the Regency Hotel in Dublin in February 2016. Former Sinn Féin councillor Jonathan Dowdall was also due to stand trial for the murder, but charges were dropped after he agreed to testify against Mr Hutch. He alleges the monk confessed to him that he was one of the gunmen involved in the attack. Irish Times crime journalist Paul Williams has been speaking with Mr Hutch associates.
He's very supremely confident, apparently, through people I'm talking to who know him, that he's going to walk today. And if he does walk, I believe the plan is that, number one, he will celebrate his birthday that he had last week, his 60th birthday, probably in style, and he'll probably leave the country.
Police in Strabane have closed Church Street up until the Glen Road junction. The public have been asked to avoid the area. It comes as police and fire service deal with an incident that was reported last night in the area. Minister for Health Stephen Donnelly has announced today public inpatient charges have been abolished in all public hospitals. With more, here's Jade McClafferty.
The Health Amendment Act 2023, which was signed into law on April 4th, removes the €80 public inpatient charge per day for people accessing care as a public patient in all public hospitals. Following the enactment of the legislation, the Minister for Health signed the commencement order providing for the removal of charges from today. Funding was provided in Budget 2023 to abolish these acute charges.
And now for this morning's weather forecast. Low cloud, mist and fog will break up through the morning, leaving another pleasant day of sunny spells and a scattering of showers. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in light to moderate southeast breezes. That's all for now. We'll be back again with headlines at 11 o'clock. And until then, good morning. The obituary notices this Monday morning, April 17th. The death has taken place of Francis O'Donnell, 173 Ardconnell, Ardra. His remains will repose at Shovlin's funeral home this evening from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and tomorrow evening from 5 p.m, followed by removal at 6:30 p.m. to the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, arriving at 7 p.m. Funeral Mass on Wednesday morning at 11 a.m, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Teresa Tessie McBride, Umla Carrigart. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow, going to the Church of St John the Baptist for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, which can be viewed live on the Meva Parish Facebook page. Interment immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of John McGinley, John Daniel, Falgaro, Cloughan. John is reposing at the residence of his late brother Frank in Falgaro in Cloughan. Requiem Mass at 2 p.m. tomorrow in the Church of Our Lady Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, with burial afterwards in Kiltyvogue Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. Rosary nightly at 8 p.m. with family time from 9 p.m. until 12 noon each day. The death has taken place of Anne Gibson, 4 Water Terrace, Milltown, Convoy. Anne's remains will be reposing at her late residence today from 12 noon until 10 p.m, with rosary both evenings at 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:30 a.m, going to St Mary's Church Convoy from 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with interment afterwards in the new cemetery Convoy. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Sarah McHugh, Aughnish, Ramelton. Her remains are reposing at the residence of her brother Mickey McHugh, Back Lane, Ramelton. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Church, Ramelton. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. The death has occurred of Rose Lynch, née Sweeney, 21 Drumquin Road, Castlederg, reposing at the family home. Funeral from there today at 10:15 a.m. for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in St Patrick's Church, Castlederg. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Knock Shrine, care of Charles Lynch, funeral director. The death has taken place of Evie Lynch, 71 Cockhill Park, Buncrana. Evie is reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there today at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial in the adjoining graveyard. The death has taken place of William Bill Slater, 30 Culmore Point, and formerly of Ledamore Muff, County Donegal. Funeral leaving his late home today. Funeral leaving his home 30 Culmore Point, Culmore today at 1:30 p.m, followed by a service of thanksgiving for his life in Muff Parish Church at 2 o'clock. Private cremation will take place in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan, tomorrow. Family flowers only, donations in lieu of desired to Muff Parish Church, care of Angela Dobbins. The death has taken place of Anne Dowds, Carawan, Burt. Funeral from her late residence today at 11:30 a.m, going to St Angus's Church, Burt, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with interment afterwards in Burt Cemetery. House private this morning before the funeral, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to ICU Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
There was a monster who lived in the trees, in the house that would rattle and shake in the breeze. It was cold and small, with a terrible leak that would drip on her head and her hands and her beak. She needed it fixed and all in one batch, because she had an egg that was ready to hatch. So she went to the credit union for a renovation loan and got new windows, insulation, and extended her home. Monster loans from the credit union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We're into the second hour this Monday. Some of your comments coming in. I'm very upset to hear that the Suzu grant is not accepted in colleges in the north. I have an autistic child who has her heart set on a particular course that is not available in Letterkenny and was hoping to go to a college in Derry next year. I'd be driving her there and back every day. She wouldn't be capable of catching buses, and moving away from home on her own is not an option either. There's no way I'd be able to afford the fees, so it looks like my child won't be able to go on to third level education. I don't know how I'm going to tell her. It's very unfair. Okay, it is, and that's a very difficult story indeed. All these people taking part in Good Friday Agreement are just a talking shop. Jeffrey will never go back into government. Micheál Martin is wasting his time talking about it. The DUP don't want to go into government again with Catholics. They are wasting their time talking waffle. That comes in from John. I'd be slightly more optimistic than you, John. I think after the dust settles, after the local elections, I think they'll have to come up with some sort of an agreement that allows power sharing to resume. Why not compulsory? We know this would save lives. The quad would not roll over on top of the person, just like a tractor. It's a non-brainer. This is in relation to roll cages. I can understand that. I think if you were strapped into the seat of the quad, now I don't really, I think most people have had a go in the quad at some point or other. I'm just wondering if you fall out of the quad, if the roll bar could end up doing more damage than good. I think if you were strapped into the quad, perhaps. But as I say, there's people out there that use them. Let me know. This caller, very sure that a roll bar, compulsory roll bars on quads would save lives. But what do you think? 086 60 25,000. The caller says no heat off the smokeless coal. If you had a back boiler, it would take ages to heat the radiators. There is a bit of a practicality element to it. I do hear that quite a lot. Were you watching the Grand National on Saturday? It was delayed for a few minutes as people were protesting at it. I've watched it all my life. But last week, and I haven't been reading up last Saturday, I haven't been reading up anything on it, or my mind hasn't been convinced by, people opposed to it or for it. But I'll tell you, maybe it's my age, I don't know. I was watching it, and for the first time, I really thought that I'm not actually enjoying this. It's horrendous, really. Well, horrendous is too strong. Just in terms of seeing the riderless horses crashing into fences and jockeys being flipped in the air and horses having to be put down. Hill 16 died. It was the first time I've kind of thought, I'm not really probably going to watch this again. Now, as I say, I'm not all woke and my views haven't been changed and I haven't been convinced in any way, shape or form that I'm aware of. But it just was, there was a turning point for me at the weekend. I thought, I'm not really interested in this. Did you find that? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. And listening to some of the commentary, obviously, I think the trainers and commentators and journalists and those that make money from it, obviously very keen to keep it going and talking about how, it's actually brilliant for the animals and all that type of stuff. And maybe it is. I'm only speaking personally. I'm not trying to change anyone's point of view, but I'm just curious if anyone out there kind of felt the same this year as I did. 086 60 25,000. Or not, actually, by the way. I'm not looking to sort of invite people on only with just one certain point of view. That's not the motivation at all. But just in case other people felt that at the same time, you can call us to 07491 25,000, of course, or email comments@highlandradio.com later on. Brendan Devaney will be in studio with us, or he might not be. We don't know yet. He'll tell us about 30 seconds before he's due to be here, whether he's going to be in studio or on Zoom. But anyway, be that as it may. Great game of football yesterday, wasn't it? I really enjoyed that. Hopefully next week, the two games featuring Ulster teams will be as exciting. I wouldn't hold my breath. We'll see what Brendan thinks about that. But if you have any points or questions or comments to put to Brendan as well, listen, he's in plugging his podcast. We'll also get some mileage out of him too if you want to have any questions answered or hear his opinion on anything. That and so much more besides. It's all coming up for you on your 9 till noon show.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 17th of April. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S16. It's game number 16. The numbers are 20, 77, 54, 73, 22, 4, 21, 89, 63, and finally 79. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
For confirmation and First Communion, there's a great selection of suits, casual wear and footwear at Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top brands include 1880 Club, Diesel and Tommy Bow Footwear, all at great prices. Stand out for the big day at Watson Menswear. Open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
When planning a break this year, why not consider the huge selection of quality tours on offer from Boyce Travel Ramelton? Choose from Kilkenny or Killarney, the Ploughing Championships or an overnight trip to Bloom. Call Boyce Tours on 9151043.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
A new campaign, Get Rare Aware, has been launched by Rare Diseases Ireland to bring together politicians, medical experts and people living with rare diseases, including, of course, here in County Donegal, to take action on under-resourced genetic services at the Department of Clinical Genetics at Children's Health Ireland at Crumlin. Vicky McGrath is CEO of Rare Diseases Ireland and joins us on the programme now. Thanks for your time this morning, Vicky. It's appreciated.
No problem, Greg. Thank you.
Now, I suppose when you... in terms of rare diseases, the name gives it away, doesn't it? Individually, there might be small groups of people suffering from rare diseases, but when taken in totality, it's like 50,000 people living with rare diseases in Ireland. So they're not as rare as a collective, if that makes sense.
Well, actually, yeah, that 50,000 figure is in fact the people living in the regional health area that Donegal is part of.
I'll get you, right? That's not countrywide.
There's about 300,000 in Ireland.
Wow, okay. That's even more significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what are the challenges? I beg your pardon, Vicky. What are the challenges? What are the issues then that need to be addressed? I know I referenced it there in the preamble, but why is this so important?
So, I mean, I guess a rare disease, as you say, is only a handful of patients for each individual rare disease. There's about 6,000 to 8,000 different rare diseases, and about 70% of those are genetic in origin. So clearly, if you can have a genetic diagnosis, you'll identify what particular rare disease somebody's living with, and that allows proper care, treatment, access to medicines, access to clinical trials, all of those things once you have a genetic diagnosis. But what we find here in Ireland is that our clinical services, our clinical genetic services, based out of Crumlin, that's the main centre for the country, is incredibly under-resourced to the extent that people are about 2 years on a waiting list. And this is 2 years of just waiting to get a diagnosis. This isn't, 2 years for a procedure or something like that. This is just the simple step of a diagnosis. And so what we're calling on is for the government to deliver. The government in their last programme for government, when they wrote it up in 2020, so almost 3 years ago now, they said that they would provide support to the clinical genetic service at Crumlin. It's specifically written in the programme for government. But 3 years later, nothing has happened. And so what we're saying is, guys, you got to deliver on this. We can't have people, waiting, unsure what exactly is causing the symptoms that they have. We need to speed up this process and looking to somewhere like Northern Ireland, where that wait is about 3 months.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Clearly,
And presumably,
there are things.
Yeah, presumably too, people then find themselves, without a proper diagnosis, going from one expert or one consultant to another. It's not, in other words, an endless process of elimination when genetic testing presumably could get the correct treatment where available and the correct care in place as soon as possible.
Precisely. So we did some research last year, and about 37% are waiting over 5 years for a diagnosis. Some of that is because the research hasn't been done to identify the gene that's causing the symptoms that somebody might be living with. But in many cases, it is because of the delays in getting access to genetics to begin with, and then the delays with the genetic service as well on top of that. And you're absolutely right. People are sitting on multiple waiting lists. and being re-referred into different consultants. And it's only adding to the problem that we have with waiting lists in the country. So if we could actually do something like this and get that root cause diagnosis, then people will be on the right path from the get-go. They wouldn't be going from consultant to consultant and being given incorrect treatments, being given the wrong treatments, and potentially even harmful treatments. So there's a lot to be said. And we look at, you look at other areas, and diagnosis is key to the clinical care, period.
It's everything.
Consultants are all crying out for, I need to know what it is in order to be sure that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, and do you think everyone that needs to be on that list, albeit facing long delays, gets on that list? Like, is there I don't know if the right word is a culture, but is there a proper policy in that, someone that ends up visiting multiple consultants, we still can't get to the root of the problem, right? We better refer you for genetic testing. Does that happen routinely and correctly?
I would say it happens a bit haphazardly. You might be lucky enough to visit somebody that thinks, you know what, let's try this. And we would like to be in a position, so there is a new genetics and genomic strategy for the country, which was published just towards the end of last year, and that's the 5-10 year vision of and where we will be and what will be happening and stuff like that. And there's a need to, firstly, they call it mainstreaming genetics, so that not everything is centralised in one location, but that different consultants are using genetic services on an ongoing basis, and also to bring genetics into the GP kind of scenario, and that we all have a better understanding of what genetics means, and when you're being faced with genetic tests, what does it actually mean? And this is to enable, as you say, that diagnostic piece. Because what we find is that people are going from consultant to consultant, and then there's kind of, we don't know what it is, but sure, you'll be grand, or don't worry about it, or whatever. And it's kind of no, that's not really the right answer. I spoke with somebody the other day, and she was talking about her 38-year-old husband having hip replacements, and they couldn't say, this is the reason why. And then her child was diagnosed with something, and they went back to the husband and said, now we know why you had to have a hip replacement at the age of 38. And before that, there was it's just, you're just bad luck kind of thing.
Yeah.
I said, no, there is a root cause. And with that information now, they can keep an eye on other things for the husband and for the family generally. But and that's what it's about. It's about informing, providing people with the information and the power to say, I'm going to stay healthy, I'm going to keep an eye on this, I don't need to worry about that type of stuff.
The thing is though, too, Vicky, and unfortunately we see it all too often, is this policy is costing the state more. I mean, obviously, primarily we're focused on patients and their outcomes and their quality of life. And if you're sitting in pain or with something that's undiagnosed for many, many years, you can only imagine the toll that takes on the individual and those around them. But we're having consultants seeing people that they don't really need to be seeing, where perhaps other problems that are emerging that perhaps could have been avoided with proper treatment in a timely manner. Again, resources and time within the health service that if they invested a little bit money in a different area, they would make it back.
Exactly. Back. You're so right. And we see loads and loads of families, just saying, we need psychological support now. This has been so traumatic, this process. I'm speaking with consultants and the genetic counsellors in Crumlin, and they speak about families coming into them and mothers and fathers, parents who are blaming themselves and have been for the previous 3 years. What did I do wrong? Is it my fault? What have I done? And it's kind of, no, it's absolutely unreal. It's just a blind coincidence. It's just dumb luck, unfortunately, for many people, and yet they have been hauling themselves over the coals, and it's a very traumatic experience, thinking that I caused this and then discovering actually, even before I was born, this was going to happen. That this is absolutely unrelated. There's nothing I could have done to change my life to make this a different outcome, kind of thing, for my child or whatever. So it's incredibly important. So we're really, calling on people now to get involved in our Get Rare Aware campaign, that, we need to raise the level of awareness around rare diseases, and our first stop is around this Crumlin genetics piece and getting the politicians on board to press the government to deliver on their promises.
Yeah, just in relation to the low number of people employed in core clinical genetic services, are the posts available but can't be filled, or is the funding not being made available to advertise those posts? Is that clear, Vicky?
Well, It's actually, there have been posts advertised, and clinical geneticists and genetic counsellors are like hen's teeth. Everywhere in the world is trying to upskill or up their level of genetic service. So they are difficult to find. But what we have found is that, in fact, we could probably, or we should be getting in people that are at a lower kind of like maybe in an administration, kind of like with some genetics background, but not necessarily, obviously, a clinical geneticist type background, that can help to ease the process and ease the burden. So essentially, when somebody gets referred in order for the consultant to provide a proper consultation, they need to get the family history. They need to understand all of the symptoms. And so somebody's being referred in with maybe a little bit of information from a GP or a consultant, but they don't have the full picture. They don't have, in fact, you've already seen 3 or 4 different consultants and get the workup from all of the different people. And so what we're asking for now is, with each of these new regional health areas that's coming with Sláinte Care that are, I think, being launched on January 1 next year, can we embed in each of these what we're going to call a genomic resource associate? And that will be somebody that when the person gets referred in, this person will be in their area and will phone them and say, right, we need your family history. We need to know who you've been to. We need to know what other family members there are. We need to understand all of this, get the consent process and things like that all underway. So it says, firstly, it will reassure the people living with these conditions that actually something is happening and that there is work being undertaken. Secondly, it will relieve all of the time of our consultants who are currently writing letters to different consultants and waiting for responses and things like that. It's such an inappropriate use of their skills and time and expertise and things. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, right, we have a contact point now, so people living with these diseases understand that there is work being done, and also then for the people working in the area, that they can apply their expertise in the best way possible, rather than chasing letters and dictating letters and signing pieces of paper and stuff like that. Sure. But there must be a better way of managing this while we see this new strategy being rolled out.
Now, it's not too late, actually, for people, I think, because there might be an online element to this, if I'm correct. There is a conference at noon today. Is it being streamed online, Vicky?
It is, absolutely.
Oh, brilliant,
absolutely.
Okay.
So if people go to our website, rdi.ie, so that's the Rare Diseases Ireland website, right on the homepage, there is a link to the webinar today. So the webinar today is on at midday, and it's somebody living with that rare disease, the diagnostic journey, and then actually one of the consultants from Crumlin Genetics just speaking about their experience and what could be done and things like that. And so we'll have those two on us about midday, or it starts at midday today, and it won't be too long, but we'll hopefully be interesting. And then the other thing that we are asking people to do is our Get Rare Aware. The whole campaign, the idea of the campaign is to apply pressure on our elected representatives to get them to transmit that pressure onto the government to start to deliver. So we have a website, getrareaware.ie, and we're asking people to take action on that website and simply write a letter to their TDs or email a letter to their TDs. And it's very simple. It's very easy. All they need to do is put in their first and last name and their email address, and that a form letter will then get sent to all of their elected representatives in that regional health area. And that really does help to apply pressure. We see it in other areas of life, I guess, where this happens. And it does help to apply pressure and say, listen, we're done. We're tired of waiting. There's 300,000 of us around the country. We need more support, and we need it now.
All right. And listen, not everyone, people often want to help out and things, but not everyone has the money or the time to do it. But this is neither is required really here. You can just go onto that website and back this campaign. RDI.ie for those who want to attend virtually that conference at noon. Thanks for your time, Vicky. It's been very interesting, enlightening. I appreciate it. Okay, Vicky McGrath, CEO of Rare Diseases Ireland. A caller says, I was disgusted to watch Angela Scanlon Ask Me Anything show on RTE last Saturday. Joining Angela on the show was Magella O'Donnell and Keith Duffy. I was shocked at the amount of profanity used and Magella talking about the use of cannabis. I don't know whether they are just trying to stay current with the young people, but it certainly didn't impress me, someone in the older demographic. Okay, I get where you're coming from. I mean, you have to talk about things as well. I don't think not talking about them isn't helpful. In terms of the language, I get where you're coming from there as well. I live in a residential area and a business recently opened beside us. The business in particular has a car park, but people seem to just refuse to use it. 3 times last week, someone blocked the parking space I use outside my house. One person blocked me out for over 2 hours. Can we as residents in a private cul-de-sac do anything about this? I don't know what the rules are there, actually. But the business is opened. The people aren't using the car park. Maybe a polite sign, please, private parking or reserved for residents. It seems to happen a lot around the county. Why shouldn't you do it? Morning, Greg. The listener whose son is in Magee can claim tax relief on the fees paid over and above the registration fee in Ireland. It's currently $3,000. It's probably not a huge amount, but may help a little. Okay, thank you for that, by the way. A caller says, if horse racing was banned tomorrow, every racehorse would be put down. It costs an absolute fortune to train, keep and feed racehorses. Nobody's going to keep them just as a pet. Or they could live out their natural lives. You know, I mean, there's a lot of animals that wouldn't be around if they weren't for our entertainment. There wouldn't be as many greyhounds. There wouldn't be as many dairy cows. We breed them for our purposes. We create them for our needs, don't we? Okay, but as I say, I'm not anti it. I'm just saying from a personal perspective, I watched it and it was a turn off for me. Not quite sure whether I'll take an interest in it again. Greg, I burn smokeless coal in a stove and the heat off it would put you out of the house. You see, I think there are those nuggets. There are some that are more targeted towards stoves than open fires, if I'm correct. Hi, Greg. Depending on the age of that listener's child, they might be able to do funded course. Tell her to check out options with the tech. Okay, so that is the person whose student's going to college next year. Right, we will look into that. Maybe we need to do a little bit of a special in that regard to answer people's questions and help. I want to say happy 6th birthday to Fia Doherty from Glenfin. Happy birthday from Mommy, Daddy, Oren and Tiernan. And there was another request there. Did I bring it in with me? No, I didn't. Anyway, if you want to, it's fine. I'll get it in a bit. If you want to send in your requests, feel free to do so. A caller says, Joe Biden's visit to Ireland has inspired me to go to the USA and see my second cousin, 16 times removed, who I tracked down on social media. It'll be such a surprise when I turn up at their doors. They don't know me yet. Okay, sounds a bit stalky. I appreciate the tone of your text there. But, you know, we might not have a big want to feel American, but there are an awful lot of Americans because it is a young country, you know, with, I mean, obviously we know the native history of that country, but in terms of what it is now and what they describe as America now. So they are always people often are looking for, you know, where they're from. And many of them are originally or second or third generation from Ireland. So there is a big love. I don't think there's a lot of people are mad to claim connections to the USA, but certainly it does happen in reverse for no particular reason, just saying. All right, let us take a break. And we're going to be talking, actually, and this is by coincidence, Caroline, isn't it? It is just actually by coincidence. I didn't know this was coming up. We are going to be talking to someone from Animal Rising. They are the group that attempted to disrupt the Grand National. But as I say, there's not an agenda here. It just so happened that Caroline had this lined up and I was given my views on it. Stay where you are. It should be interesting.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
By choosing Donegal Creamery's milk, you're supporting over 200 dairy farming families across Donegal in doing what they do best, producing delicious, fresh milk every day. For over 100 years, Donegal Creamery's milk has been brought to you daily from our dairy at Crossroads, Killygordon, the longest established creamery in the region. Support local farms, local families and local jobs by choosing Donegal Creamery's milk.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New, fresh colours in women's sportswear from Nike and Under Armour. Get that new look with some bright colours. Quarter zips with t-shirts and fitness bottoms. Match it up with some new arrivals in our footwear for women. Brooks, Hoka and On Running gives you a unique comfort sensation. View our new arrivals. Click on bmcsports.ie for your free delivery.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunnes Stores gives you more ways to save with Double Savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your trolley with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 10 off 50 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill today and get a trolley worth €54.66 for just €44.66. Double Savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next grocery shop of €50 or more.
OK, so more than 40 animal rights activists have been de-arrested after a large number of protesters attempted to gain entry to the Aintree race course track, delaying the start of the Grand National. Merseyside police arrested 118 people on Saturday after scores of activists climbed fences, with at least 2 fixing themselves to a jump using glue and lock-on devices, according to the animal rights group. That group is Animal Rising. A spokesperson for it is Sarah McCafferty. She joins us now. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Good to have you with us. And as I say, I'm not coming at this for any particular angle, just so you wouldn't have been listening, but what I just felt, I've just watching it on Saturday, I kind of tuned out of it. It felt a bit, I think things have changed a little bit, but I'm not for it or against it. That's just where I'm at, if you know what I'm on about. I just thought it just wasn't very pleasant to watch. But why did Animal Rising target this event in the manner in which it did, Sarah?
Well, firstly, we were all there because we care about the horses, and we were there to prevent direct harm coming to these animals during the races. But we were also there because this is the first of many campaigns that we have, not only this summer, but for the next, years to come. This is just the beginning of protecting animals.
The comments already coming in this morning saying that, a lot of these horses wouldn't even be in existence if we didn't have, organised racing, that's why they're there, they're bred, they wouldn't be there at all. So how does that sit with you in that, maybe you're trying to save the current crop of horses, but if you were successful in it, many, many more would not be born because there'd be no advantage in breeding them?
Well, I think this really highlights the disconnect that we have with these horses, that the only way we can imagine that they are existing is if we're using them for fun or, for food as well. And so actually, if, in Ireland, 92% of agriculture land is dedicated to animal farming. And if we rewilded so much of this land, then we could actually reintroduce horses, but as wild horses. So we would still have horses in Ireland, which were native to our country, yeah.
Different types of horses, though, because these are, their limbs are particularly vulnerable to break and all that type of stuff, but it would be a different type of horse. And are you, like, when you say this is the start of it, right, is it horse racing now, agriculture next, like cows, dairy cows, cows reared for meat? Is that also a target on the horizon?
Yeah, so, Animal Rising, we're here to not only, highlight and put, the way we treat animals in the forefront of the discussion, but actually to show the connection between our relationship to animals, how we use them for fun and for food, and how this is one of the driving causes of the climate crisis.
Yeah. What has been the public reaction to the action on Saturday?
We've had mixed responses, but as we know already before, this race even began, that 80% of people under the age of 40 don't participate in racing for ethical reasons. So I think we already had quite a lot of public opinion on our side. And then by this action, by trying to prevent this race from happening, we've only increased and raised this crucial conversation within media, within our nations.
What would you say to the trainer or owner of Hill 16 who perished on Saturday? He was of the view, I didn't get to read the full article, I just skimmed it, if you know what I mean, but he seemed to be of the view that his horse died or had to be destroyed because of your actions, the actions of Animal Rising, that it distressed the horse and how he behaved, and it is for that reason that it perished.
I really want to acknowledge right now, how devastating that death was. That's why we were there, to prevent these horses from dying, and as well as the other two horses, one at the race before and one on Thursday. So, we were there to prevent these deaths from happening, but we weren't there, the race before and on Thursday, and yet 3 horses still died, not to mention the 2,601 horses that have died since 2007. We weren't at any of those events.
Do you recognise, though, that these animals are very well cared for? I mean, there are people of a similar age to you, and perhaps even of a similar attitude, that are involved in the caring and training of these horses in the stables. You can see the love that these young men and women have for these horses. I mean, do you recognise that, other than perhaps the jumping, that they are generally well cared for?
I think everyone within the racing industry deeply cares for these animals. I'm not disputing that. But the fact is that 1 in 2 horses that end up in slaughter have a racing passport, which means that they've raced at some point in their life. So, is this love? Is this caring for these animals once they finish racing, once they've, earned people money, then we just send them off to be killed? That's not love. That's not caring for animals.
I don't want you to incriminate yourself. I don't know what the situation is, but as much as you can, what did you do Saturday? Like, can you talk us a little bit about how you manage yourself to gain access? What did you do? What was it like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Animal Rising, we are there and we do this openly and accountably. So I was there and I did get arrested for trying to get onto the track. And, unfortunately, we didn't make it. But some people, made it onto the track. But unfortunately, we weren't able to stop the race. But we will next time, and we will keep trying, because this issue is too important not to.
How far are you prepared to go personally? Now, I don't mean in terms of inflicting any pain or injury on other people, but in terms of the sacrifice you're prepared to make. Because if that race had a big gun, if you had managed to break free, you probably would have ran out onto the course, would you have? Or what? How far are you prepared to go yourself?
So I would like to, remind everyone that we are a non-violent organisation, which means we don't cause any harm to animals or to people. As for how far I'm willing to go, if I wanted to make it onto that track, and I would have if, I hadn't been stopped and I hadn't been arrested, this issue isn't about me. This isn't about...
But you're prepared to risk your own life for this cause?
Life, as I said, we're a non-violent
Your
movement.
own, though, yeah, I know. I mean, I know that.
We wouldn't
not with
be doing
intent.
that,
but if that were a consequence of it, that's how passionately you feel about this.
I am willing to risk my freedom for these animals, because this isn't just the freedom of the animals, but actually all the people that the climate crisis will affect. The IPCC report, which is the most comprehensive climate study ever conducted, said by 2050, we will have 1 to 3 billion climate refugees. This issue isn't about my freedom. This is about, the freedom of all animals, particularly wild animals as well, whose habitat is being destroyed, but also about all of these people that are living in countries that are being directly affected by the climate crisis now. 33 million people lost their homes in Pakistan due to climate-induced flooding.
What is next then? This sounds like, I think you are enthused by the success, as you might see it, of Saturday, right? It deferred it. It all played out. It all played out on the TV. So I think an awful lot of what you wanted to achieve, other than the actual goal, was achieved, right? So where does it go from here then?
Well, as I said, this is the first of many actions.
But is it more horse racing? Is it greyhounds next? Is it farms? Like what's the plan of action?
Yeah, so we will be continuing to demonstrate at horse races, at dog races. We'll also be openly freeing animals from factory farms, as well as also continuing to do this public demonstration, to really bring this conversation to the forefront of our minds and, in our homes, in media and everything, and also to keep on pushing our governments to make these life-saving changes, not only to all the animals, but to the people.
How's all this being funded? I mean, who's backing you? I mean, there's a great deal of organisation and what have you has to go into this. I mean, is there an individual or an organisation that is funding this action?
Yeah, so loads of people that were there, I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid to do this. So loads of it is just by people showing up and, really caring about it. We do get donations, everyone is able to donate to the cause at animalrising.org but people who care about animals, they donate to, sometimes do things that they're not able to do.
Right, okay.
Like get arrested, but we have all sorts of roles and responsibilities that everyone can take part in.
Are you facing charges or were you de-arrested?
I will probably be facing charges. I don't know what they are at the moment, but I was released of yesterday in the afternoon under investigation. So yeah.
And would you be part of the same group, or is there an umbrella group of those that sort of were involved in and still continue to be the protests that disrupt traffic, gluing themselves to the road and what have you? Is that the same group or under the same umbrella?
So I think you might be talking about Insulate Britain, Just Stop Oil. They are, very climate as well as we are, focused groups. We're looking at the climate crisis and how to solve that, but through animal agriculture, because animal agriculture is the leading cause of the climate crisis. And if we were to rewild our lands that are being used for animal agriculture, the UK and Ireland would become carbon neutral, negative actually, before even giving up oil and gas. So this really is the key solution to the climate crisis.
Yeah, but the incredible
five actions, but
it has a credible implication on people. So you don't. It's obvious. I try and avoid obvious questions, but sometimes you can't. You don't wear leather, you don't eat meat, you don't drink milk, you don't fly, presumably you don't use airplanes, you don't use a car.
So I'm vegan, so I don't, use any animal products in any form.
But you didn't cycle to Aintree either, did you? I mean, no. So you used presumably a, internal combustion engined vehicle to get there. I mean, is that not a little bit hypocritical?
No, it's not hypocritical at all. Being vegan is about causing the least amount of harm possible. We're not about trying to limit people's options here. We're not saying, don't drive. But what we are saying is that animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of the climate crisis. And if we were to transition to a safe and stable food system which is plant-based, we would become carbon negative, which means we're drawing down more carbon than we're emitting before giving up oil and gas, before giving up driving. So this really is the key solution here.
Yeah, but some might listen to that and say, well, if you were a farmer and you were making a living out of that, you might be saying, well, we need to get the cars off the road and the airplanes out of the sky, and then we'll focus on farming. It sounds like some people might feel it sounds like you're an a la carte environmentalist, in that it suits you to be driven around or to fly around the place, but you're okay with that. Maybe it's a means to an end, but you want to disrupt something else that's quite damaging to the environment. That some people might see that as a bit hypocritical, Sarah.
I think if we look at how, the difference between, eating an animal and driving, I think they're very different. And I think most of your listeners will be able to understand that. Also, this isn't just about, taking away someone's, right, as you put it, or choice, but actually we're taking away the choices of animals every single day. they're not our lives to take. We're not giving up anything. We're just not taking something that isn't ours. And, I think if we were to choose between, eating a healthy plant-based diet and driving, I think they're very different. And I think the public understands that.
Yeah. And finally, what do you think can be achieved by this? I can't imagine horse racing ever being banned. Or can you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't be taking part in the actions that I do if I didn't believe that we can put a complete stop to these, these cruel sports. But I would like to, remind people that we also at one point in history thought dog fighting was okay and that bull sports were okay. And when we looked at them from a compassionate point of view, we decided as society that this was not acceptable anymore. And we moved away from these sports. We are absolutely able to move away from horse racing and from animal farming, animal agriculture, etc.
All right. So what is the next? I don't really follow horse racing. What's the next big meet? Are you going to be going to the, the Cheltenhams and you've done Aintree, or is it, some horse race meet in 7:30 on a Tuesday evening? Have you got a plan of action that you can make public at this point?
Yeah, so we'll be there at the bigger events and at the smaller ones as well. And we will be at, as I said before, dog racing. But I would like to remind everyone here that this isn't just about horse racing. This is about the much wider conversation about the way that we treat animals for fun and for food. 99% of animals that are in existence right now are in the food industry.
Okay, well, we'll see what the listeners think. Thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
As I say, I try and avoid obvious questions, but some things just, you know what I mean? They're just so in your face, you have to mention it. I appreciate your time, Sarah. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, you
too. Okay, bye-bye. Sarah McCafferty there, who's a spokesperson for Animal Rising. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Maybe, there's not a massive amount of engagement in horse racing, for example, amongst the public in younger people, or is there? Sarah seems to think there isn't. Maybe it's naturally going to ebb away. I don't know. I am here learning and forming my opinions on the hoof, so to speak. No pun intended, but sure, look it. We'll be back with more after these. Your comments coming in. Keep them coming.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Buncrana should attend the clinic in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Monday 17th and Tuesday 18th of April. And donors from Carndonagh should attend the clinic in the Carndonagh Community School on Wednesday 19th and Thursday 20th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. Visit giveblood.ie to see eligibility and clinic details.
Whether it's in the cupboard, under the bed, or down the side of the couch, if you can find your smartphone, you can trade it in for an average of €130 at Vodafone, where we'll recycle and repurpose it. Good for your pocket and the planet. Search Vodafone Trade-In or visit your local Vodafone store to find out more. So, where's yours? Vodafone. Together we can.
Trade-in is subject to trading in an eligible device. Average trade-in value is €130. For full terms, see vodafone.ie/terms.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
For over 20 years, CarZone has been the trusted name in Ireland's motoring marketplace, bringing 1 million car buyers and sellers together every month. And now, buying or selling a car has never been easier on CarZone with expert tools and advice. Download the CarZone app or check out carzone.ie. CarZone, Ireland's trusted motoring marketplace.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
So that low cloud mist and fog will be breaking up now, and it's going to leave another pleasant day of sunny spells and a scattering of showers. Highest temperatures 15 to 17 degrees in light to moderate. southeast breezes, though some of the long-range forecasts, and I don't want to be negative, some of the long-range forecasts are predicting the weather getting colder again. All right, some of your comments here. A caller wants to know who is funding Animal Rising. I asked that question, actually, so hopefully you heard the answer. Greg, those horses are cared for a reason, to make millions for the owners and trainers. By the way, I haven't watched horse racing in almost 40 years. The caller says, horse racing is a multi-billion industry to Ireland. These horses get more care than humans. Horses are more at risk out in fields from falls and getting hit by other horses. I saw an interesting statistic as it relates to the actual benefit to Ireland of horse racing. I don't want to misquote the figures. Might try and dig them out again. By the way, I want to be really clear here. This is a platform where we all talk about things and you know, have opinions and exchange the views. I'm not in any way sort of trying to campaign or join a campaign to ban horse racing or farming or anything for that matter. It's just to have the conversation. An owner had a horse who was winning everything at Cheltenham. The horse was found dead in the field the next morning after the race, after he was hit by another horse. Okay, they're coming into us thick and fast. Keep them coming into us. Quick break to catch up on, because then we want to bring the news to you from Donna Marie.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
In 2003, the Special Olympics changed Ireland forever. 20 years later, we continue to transform the lives of children and adults with an intellectual disability. Some athletes will represent their country. Some will learn to run, jump, or even speak for the first time at a Special Olympics club. But all will laugh, compete, and belong together. Please support them by donating today at specialolympics.ie, or give what you can to our bucket collectors on Friday, April 21st. Thank you.
Preparing for a special occasion? Sorrento Shoes has the finishing touch. Shoes and bags in pastel shades, bling or classic neutrals. Sorrento Shoes. Available in all leading shoe stores.
Get the moss problems in your lawn sorted with Mobacter, the natural product to remove moss from your lawn. Apply Mobacter now and forget. No raking necessary. And Mobacter will not stain your patio areas. Mobacter is the only moss remover approved by the Royal Horticultural Society. Mobacter Lawn Fertiliser. For beautiful green, moss-free lawns from local co-ops and garden stores. Check out mobacter.ie for all Viano products, or find us on Facebook.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram, and have them printed instantly within an hour, or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
The one and only Tom Jones is back, and we're going to be there. Join us as Highland Radio hit the road to see the timeless legend as he headlines Belsonic 2023, Friday 16th of June. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast in the 4-star Clayton Hotel Belfast, and your standing ticket to the outdoor event. Contact us today on 074 9125,000 to see Tom Jones at Ormo Park, Belfast, Friday 16th of June.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, loads to come up in the next hour. Stay right where you are. But first, let's get a news update. And we welcome into studio Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal Cancer flights and services have been experiencing delays of up to 3 hours in flight services to Dublin this week, as well as a cancellation. Mary Coyle, who runs the service, says patients wait a long time for appointments in Dublin, and when the appointment is missed, they are left waiting another couple of weeks. Irish victims of rape and sexual assault had their data stolen in a ransomware attack last month. A third party broke through a security system and accessed information from data managing company Avid. The Derry-based business manages the data for a number of charities, including 1 in 4, which supports adults who experienced childhood sexual abuse. The PSNI cybercrime investigation team is continuing its inquiries into the incident. Donegal County Council, with the support of Transport Infrastructure Ireland, are hosting 2 non-statutory public consultations for the Buncrana to Carndonagh Greenway project in Inishowen and Carndonagh. The public consultations aim to inform the public of the project, invite feedback, and highlight any other features that the design team should consider. The first is on Tuesday, April 25th from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, and the second on Wednesday, the 26th, from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. in Carndonagh Public Service Centre. A driver was arrested yesterday after they had driven almost double the speed limit earlier in the week. Gardaí from Buncrana Roads Policing Unit detected the vehicle being driven at 195 kilometres on the N13 a few days ago. The speed limit in that area is 100 kilometres per hour, and the road was reported to be very busy at the time. Gardaí say the driver was charged to appear in court. And finally, despite being under more financial pressure, shoppers are still looking for bargains and deals to treat themselves. A new Pulse of the Nation index launched by Pennies found 95% of people are engaging in saving hacks to deal with the cost of living crisis. It includes wearing warmer clothes to reduce heating costs and scaling back on entertainment subscriptions. That's all for now. We'll be back again with more news headlines at 12 o'clock. Till then, good afternoon.
All right, Donna, you were doing so well.
I know.
Signing off is one of the most difficult things to do, you know. It really is. Data or data?
I'd probably say data. What did I say?
Don't know. Just data or data.
I'd say data.
I think I've been corrected for saying one of them, but I don't know which is right and which is wrong. I don't think there is a right or wrong anyway. All right, come here. You'll be back at 12 with headlines, isn't that right? Okay. That's Donna Marie Doherty there. Back after a really short break.
Hello, I'm Caoimhe de Barra from Trócaire, urging you to return your Trócaire box donation. Your support will bring emergency food baskets, urgent medical care and fresh safe water to families in Somalia, families who have lost everything in the worst drought in the country's history. Your help can make all the difference. Visit trócaire.org or call 1800 408 408. You see, it's not just a box, it's a lifeline. Trócaire, together for a just world.
Right, okay, some of your comments coming in just as we wait to welcome Brendan Devaney onto the show. God made the animals to feed the people who are on the earth. I do understand what you're saying, and as I say, just to have the full wide range of conversation, a lot of the animals that are alive for us to eat, we rear them. Do you know, they're not like it's not like we go into the forests and kill pigs for bacon and try and catch a cow for beef. They're reared for that function. It's their only function, a lot of them. Fair play to that lady and animal rights groups. You have my full support, such brave people. Other animals are treated badly, but most of these race horses are treated like gold and there is no ill treatment. Does she consider catching and eating fish cruel? I would suggest yes. I applaud that girl for what she stands for, and I personally never watch or bet on any sport that involves animals. If I was off air, I'd have a joke there, but I wouldn't risk it whilst I'm on air. That girl is a typical city girl. It's city people telling country people how to live. Do away with farmers, but don't touch our cars or oil and gas. Yeah, indeed. I think if you're in, you're all in. And to drive in a car to a protest to save animals and the environment seems a bit ironic to me. Just to say, I agree with Greg. I don't watch the Grand National. It's so cruel to the horses from a daily listener. Great to have you on board. Great to have all of you on board. Right, okay. It was an interesting weekend of sport, and we're going to focus on the GAA side of things now with the one and only Brendan Devaney, presenter of the DL Debate. Good morning, Brent.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you with us. Right, where should we start? I suppose we have to start with, and we should start with, Donegal doing Fermanagh in the Nicky Rackard Cup. Put that win into some context for us, Brendan.
Yeah, it's I suppose it's a competition Donegal have eyes on the prize, have won it. Fermanagh, of course, faced relegation themselves. Donegal were in a league final. We were at home, so a lot of people was thinking it would be a Donegal game that we would control, but Fermanagh really came. They were unlucky in the league. They lost a few games by a point, Greg, so it was probably a bit of a false impression of them because they had a couple of cracking hurlers in their ranks, Greg, and just funny from watching GA this last wee while and watching Gaelic football, obviously, and watching soccer. The game was just absolutely brilliant. It was breathtaking, Greg, end to end. I said in the first update, if you're anywhere near Donald Park, come on and watch this. I mean, Fermanagh really put it up to Donegal. Some of the scores were absolutely phenomenal, Greg. And from a time where normally you have so much time to assess points and write down. You literally look down, mark the point. It was a score at the other end of the pitch. You know, it was that kind of game. Now, Fermanagh did lose a man towards the end of the first half, which might have had a bit of a bearing on it, Greg. But that said, Donegal really stuck to it, and Liam McKinney's goal in the second half was probably a big turning point, because Fermanagh had a 4-point advantage at half time, and the second half started off a bit touchy, and it looked like it was going to be difficult to end that lead. But McKinney's goal was kind of the launch pad for Donegal to go on and control the game. And towards the end, then, whether it was the spare man or whether it was just Donegal's bit of class coming through, and particularly Declan Coulter, of course, a legend of Donegal hurling, and he hit the last 4 or 5 points there, and just has experience in to see Donegal across the line, Greg. But in terms of a game of sport, you know, because we see so many games now getting entrenched in tactics and possession. Of course, hurling isn't like that, and really can't be like that. So this, just to see two teams going at it, 121 to 18 points, or lad come through. So we've got a couple of away games now against Roscommon and Armagh. So it was important to get off to a victory in that Nicky record. So you have them, Louth and Wicklow then at home after that. So what happens then, it's just that one group that's playing for this competition. The top two teams go straight into the Nicky record final. So that's where Donegal are aiming for, Greg.
On a personal level, have you always had the sort of level of interest and admiration in hurling, or is your own footballing career and soccer career and everything else you're involved in, now you have a bit more time? Like, has it always been, or what I'm trying to say is, are you maybe starting to appreciate it a little bit more as you can watch it in a different way now?
Well, would you believe this, Greg? My first 5 times in Croke Park was all hurling.
Right.
My mum's from Galway, you see. She actually was at school with the legend that is Brendan Linsky. So all our family grew up with this massive bit of hurling side of us, because at the time when Donegal didn't get to Croke Park too often, Galway were often there, and it used to be pushed over the turnstiles. It's hard to believe, Greg, that even someone of my young age has them type of memories. I even hopped out on the Croke Park pitch and held the Liam McCarthy when nobody in the family could find me. I was away off to get a grab this trophy. Not that I even knew that much about the whole history of it. Not at that stage, Greg. I was only a wee lad. But no, my sisters would all play camogie, you see.
I get you.
So we had been poking about in the garden, and I was lucky enough to play for Burt when I was a kid.
Oh, did you? Right, okay.
Took me down to play a bit of hurling with the Burt boys, and also of a wee small understanding, Greg.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. It's just, you know, sometimes when there's so much going on in life, you don't have the space, maybe. But of course, with your history, that's clear. No, that comes across, Bran. In football, yesterday, again, I don't know enough, but I believe I watched it, and I believe that the Tyrone versus Monaghan game was a brilliant game of football. Really, really exciting right down to the end. I'm not sure what the purist in yourself thought of it, but for a couch fan, to me, it was a cracking game of football, and 2 games next weekend have a lot to live up to.
Yeah. Well, that's great. As you said there, I was thinking this was going to be terribly cagey, and we weren't going to get the spectacle we did. I mean, 118 to 217, I would never have envisaged that scoreline. And a lot of that, I think, came down to how Tyrone played the game. Very, very strange performance from them. Now, I missed the start of it coming up from the hurling. I was getting a wee bit after match and that. But when I came up, Tyrone were in complete control of the game. And then in the second half, we just had this brilliance from Monaghan, this revival, and between the experience they have and the young fresh blood that they've in, they just took the game to Tyrone. And I couldn't believe Tyrone's defence. Greg, when they couldn't withstand any Monaghan attack, you know, at the other end of the pitch, and Monaghan were very well drilled. We look at Derry and the way they're drilled, and that's where we kind of want Donegal to get back to again in terms of being a defence that has some ability to shut it out. Now, Monaghan's, when Tyrone got inside their 40, 30-yard line, 20-yard line, there was Monaghan people snapping. They were 2s and 3s. At the other end of the pitch, every Monaghan attack, literally the whole of that last 20 minutes, if Monaghan had just kept the ball and ran at Tyrone, it was either a foul or a score, and they got their just rewards. And of course, you know, O'Toole going in, like as I say, everybody's thinking fisted over the bar. I mean, to win the game in the manner he did, what a moment for
goalkeeper's not going to want to watch that one back too often, I don't think.
No. But again, where was Tyrone defence, Greg? You know, you're a point up. You know, it's time to sit in and at least make it difficult to shoot from an awkward.
See, I was a lot of people waiting for that to be saved, to scream out, just fisted over the bar. but he made the right decision in the end. But then,
listen,
what
a moment for him, Greg. Sometimes you gotta go for it, and he certainly did.
And you have to go for it. So how do we follow that against Down? I mean, it's going to be what kind of a game do you expect against Down?
You know what, Greg? It's nearly impossible to tell at this point. I mean, we the only thing you have to go on is your league performances, which were, particularly the last two, Greg, were really poor. And you know, we basically have, you know, I was talking to people over the weekend there, for players that are missing and injured, you nearly have another team out there that could be in the mix for Donegal, but they're not. So listen, we still have a good bit of experience. We have plenty of Ulster Championship winners in the ranks and that. It's just great going from, particularly that Roscommon game, the way we were defensively and in attack, everything was not happening. There was no fluidity. There was no defensive shape. Man for man, we were in trouble. As a team, we were in trouble. But listen, there's time now. The lads were away to training camp and that they pull things together. Down our Division 3 team, they were close to coming up now, but they didn't make it. So we got to say it's a game that we have to go on and win. But more than the victory, we got to go, I suppose, and have some shape their team. Now, we have a load of young lads, and that team that finished against Roscommon, there was 5 lads, basically. There was a few who had made their debuts, and there was 5 or 6 lads in there that are basically, this is their first season in there. So I suppose as a county, Greg, as much as you don't want to be overcritical, I'm thinking these lads are putting in a huge effort. They're playing for our county. You know, we got to get behind them now, and we'll be up and down, and as many Donegal fans as we can, because when times is hard, you know, Greg, that's sometimes when we got to get behind
100%.
our lads.
And you know what your view is, and what other people's views is, all that. But I thought there was a really interesting interview. Was it after the Roscommon game that you an interview you had with Patrick McBurty? And I can't remember the exact line of question or his exact response, but my takeaway from it was, and I must listen back, that, you know, they'll be ready, you know, that they are ready, that they can up their game, that they can perform better. So it'll be interesting to see how that, obviously he'll be relaying that attitude in the dressing room and what have you. It'll be interesting to see how that relates to on the pitch against Dan next week. Do you know how you get little things that make you more interested in the game? I'm really interested off the back of that interview to see how this team performs against Dan in the championship.
Yeah. See, it was hard asking him them questions because I knew how low we were. We just got relegated and it was a terrible performance. And as I said to you, Rick, you can come in and be critical and highlight this and that, but then the Donegal side of me and the fan that I am now, I'm watching these boys and knowing what they're putting in. And as I say, as well as all these new boys in, they're going into championships the first time. There's been all this stuff in the background. After I asked him them questions, and Patrick would be quite bullish, that's his nature, and I respect.
No, it took you on, no doubt about that.
Yeah, so I respect that. Greg, I say I had knots in my stomach leaving that because I hated asking them, but she wasn't there.
But do you know what the reason why those interviews are good, and maybe because I do interviews, I get it. You had to ask those questions to get that response. And I'm quoting his response. If you hadn't asked those questions, we wouldn't have that interview to talk about. So I get where you're coming from, but I think it was really valuable because it's given me a new sort of insight and interest as we head into next week. Now, if all that wasn't good enough, the Life Stories, which is a new feature that Brendan introduced into the podcast, has an amazing guest this week in Colin McFadden. I mean, you're going to chat to him this evening, but where do you start? I like to ask you sometimes, like, what are you looking forward to getting into with him in the conversation?
Do you know what? Excuse me. On top of everything else, he's a top lad. I obviously played with him for years. I've great time for him. So, you know what? I'm going to let it roll. I know his career inside out because I've either played with him or watched him, and I just want to get a talk to him about his experiences in those moments, not just the big moments, the obvious ones, you know, the Ulsters, All Ireland ones, but he had a foot, I suppose, in an initial camp when Donegal hadn't got the professionalism that Jim brought in. And then when Jim did bring in, I think of all the players in there, he excelled the most. You know, his abilities, what we all knew was in him, and his class and his free taking. I mean, in 2012, Greg, I would say he was close to having a flawless season. for a forward, that's literally impossible. But I'm trying to think back to even the free that he missed. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable where he went to. And for me, a lot of people said, listen, I thought he was our main man in 2012 across the board and in the whole country. And I just want to ask him, I suppose, about his side of that. Of course, his club side as well, and its effect in the area. And I spoke to a couple of his teammates in that over the weekend. And listen, it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal chat to him. He's obviously vice principal over at St. Eunan's now. He's been involved here under 20s, so he's very invested in GA all the time. And maybe a manager for the future, Greg, you never know.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so Colin McFadden, as part of the Life Stories feature of the DL debate, and all the reaction and previews that you could want right across the codes of GEA, just after 7 p.m. this evening, just after the news. And if you can't make it for that, don't forget it's podcasted for you on highlandradio.com, and you can listen to the DL debate in association with Sarah's Kitchen at Sister Sarah's, Letterkenny. Brendan, anything else you want to mention before we go? That's it?
No, that's it, Greg. My wee boy's chicken box. I don't know, can you catch him on the mic here? His dad is coming out, so we just timed that nicely, Greg. Well done, mate. You're a man for timing, I'll say it.
Right,
I'm going.
Okay. Come here, it's not easy, is it? It's we wish him a speedy recovery. All right, take care, Brendan. Thanks very much indeed. 086 60 25. I think they're looking for a car. Has he still got a Highland car, is he? Right, okay. He's got, after he mentioned his son's got chicken pox, I'm not going to bring up the car, Roisin Kelly standing at the window. Right, tell Brendan you were great. You, Michael Murphy, Paddy McBurty, and the two McGees and Ryan McHugh. It's just a pity that you're retired. You were great players coming in from Mal. Yes, indeed. He is a good person, Brendan. I'll direct you again to a podcast that's on BBC Sounds, the BBC Sounds app, featuring Brendan Devaney. Brendan Devaney, I beg your pardon. Right, okay, keep the calls, comments coming into us. 086 60 25,000.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Have you got a thatched roof in need of repair? If you do, Donegal County Council's award-winning Thatch Repair Grant Scheme may be able to help. The grant scheme provides specialist advice to owners on the conservation of thatched roofs and allocates funding for small-scale thatch repairs. Donegal County Council recognises the contribution that thatched dwellings and outbuildings make to our landscape, economy, tourism and society. Further details and application forms are available on the Donegal County Council website, donegalcoco.ie/heritage. The closing date for applications is 12 noon on Friday, April 21st. Donegal County Council, serving the people and heritage of Donegal.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board Mona.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time
at 20 minutes past 11, we welcome into studio Kasia Kozia, who's Youth Information Officer with the Donegal Youth Service. Good to have you in studio. Kasia, how are you keeping?
Thank you very much. All grand. Thank you very much for the invitation and the chance to be here in Highland Radio again.
Yeah, of course, because today, isn't it, the 17th of April, is European Youth Information Day and the birthday of the European Youth Information and Counselling Agencies. So, talk to me about today. Why is today important in your view?
Of course. So, yeah, the name of the agency is super long and I never remember it. But anyway, we can call it Erica, just in short,
I was
okay?
trying to avoid it because I didn't know how they pronounce that, but anyway.
No, that is Erica. Why is it important? First of all, for me as a youth information officer, this is a very important day because that's the chance for our center to celebrate the reliable, free and non-judgmental, unbiased information that we provide to young people in Donegal, and not only, but mainly in Donegal, yes? There's another special occasion that we are celebrating this day very widely and loudly, our Letterkenny Center, Letterkenny Youth Information Center, was awarded with the quality label from Erica.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. This is the big day for us because it took us good few weeks to prepare the whole application form, to justify and to prove that we are good enough to get the quality label. And at the same time, the quality label gives some kind of reassurance to young people that the information that they receive from us are at the very good level.
What kind of information do people seek from you?
So mainly young people, anyone who is aged 13 up to 30 years old can come to Letterkenny Youth Information Center and get information on whatever the question is, and it's literally whatever the question is. Mainly we're working with people on accommodation, finding the accommodation, maybe helping out with references, CVs, employment, mock interviews. Also the angle of European work is focused on mobilities available to young people. So we're talking about, studying abroad, volunteering abroad, like one of the projects is European Solidarity Corps. People can go there for free, but that's the other stuff.
Are there plenty of opportunities like that, Kasia? If someone's listening and they're really keen and eager and they tick the boxes, are there always sort of opportunities that you would hope to be able to match them with?
Yes, absolutely. The best idea if you have that spark in your head and you really want to do something, but you don't know where to start, where to go, how to do it, visit Youth Information Center, that's 16 to 18 Port Road, Letterkenny, the old cinema building, Donegal Youth Service, and find me on one of my colleagues, and we're more than happy to help you finding your path for the future. Maybe taking the gap year is not the worst thing that you can do. It doesn't mean that you will lose anything. You can gain much more. Also, it's all about motivation that you have. It's all about the skills that you have and that you want to improve. And at the end of the day, it's a great journey that you can go for and, just experience different cultures, different languages.
I mean, even when we were over in Europe not so long ago, just by coincidence, there was a group of students over from Carndonagh who already obviously had, the ones that we were speaking to, already an interest in, European affairs and politics. But you could see how that was just really underlined and then speaking to people over there who are from Ireland or from everywhere, it's people from everywhere. But it was just for people who want that life. I'm going off track a bit here, but where you interact with loads of different people with loads of different backgrounds, or you want to be close to where the seat of power is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think travel can sort of, can really, I think can change someone really quite significantly.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And we're talking about the whole, I'm not saying that it will change your values, but maybe the horizons will become wider. You know what I mean? And also,
go ahead.
Perfect.
I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No, not at all. Also, the European Youth Information Day is a great day to celebrate the media and information literacy skills, yes? So that's what we're working on and with in Letterkenny Youth Information Center as well. We're providing many sessions on cyberbullying and internet safety. So that really, this day, today, the celebration celebration really matches all the things that we do in Donegal Youth Service and in YIC.
I mean, you work with a lot of young people, but I think there's always people, maybe their parents or guardians or granny and granddads listening, that aren't aware of the services. I know you try very hard to get them out there, but it is a really good support for young people across Donegal. Obviously, if you're in Letterkenny, it's more convenient, but it's there for you if you're 13 to 30. Maybe you just want a different perspective on things. You know, we can be in a wee bubble in our houses, and even those that love us as much as they do, you know, you could be hearing the same voices all the time. It's nice to maybe get some impartial or independent advice or guidance.
Absolutely. Moreover, even if people can't really make the whole journey up to Letterkenny, they can still use the online service that is the National Service of Information chat. When you go to spoonout.id, you will find the whole way how to get there. The chat is open on Monday to Friday, 4 to 8 p.m. So it's also another angle of the youth information provision that youth information officers from across the country provide to young people. So again, we're talking about the same standards. We're talking about the high quality of information. Please remember that whatever you ask us to help you with, it's for free. It's as unbiased as possible. We're not judging anyone. We're not commenting on your choices. We're there to help you make your own decision.
Yeah, to facilitate your decision-making process. Okay.
Yes.
And again, congratulations again on getting that quality label, because it's significant, isn't it? And a lot of work has to go into achieving. They're not divvied out, because if they were, they lose their importance and the significance of them.
Yes. And the thing is that the quality label is awarded for 3 years only. So after 3 years, we'll have to show the evidence of the improvement of the center and the hard work that we as a team put into that center. That's part of our hearts go to the center, just to make sure that we still meet the standards and that we're good enough, you know.
Yeah, there's a bit of a celebration this afternoon, is there?
It is. It is.
What's going on?
So basically, today from 2 p.m. In Donegal Youth Service headquarters, which is also known as Loft, yes, to young people especially, we'll be holding a little bit of afternoon tea, whatever we call it, yes, just to be there to people who would like to know more about the quality label, about the work that we do, and if you want to chat a little bit about the opportunities waiting for you, I'm more than happy to do it, especially today because we're celebrating this big day.
Yeah, of course. It must be lovely to be involved with something that has a positive impact on young people's lives.
Absolutely, yes. And seeing them growing, and after a few years, they come back to me and they're saying, oh my God, Kasia, thank you very much for pushing me or helping me doing something, because without this center, without these people, I wouldn't be able to develop myself, you know, professionally, personally, whatever it is, yes.
And Kasia, are you always this wonderfully energetic, or is it just when you come to visit us here at Highland Radio?
No, actually, the funny thing is that, my personality, hard to believe, I'm introvert.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I know, surprise.
That's fine.
But I'm also leaving my comfort zone whenever I'm working with young people, because on the other hand, I love working with people. It's just the introvertism.
But that also gives you an opportunity. That also gives you more of an understanding, because in the real world, we do have to go outside our comfort zone, because we can't be protected all of our lives.
No.
And I think young people now are more protected than they ever were. Absolutely. So in a way, I think you can relate to people where they, you maybe have to go outside your comfort zone to pursue your opportunities sometimes.
But that's how it works. Yeah. Every time, if you want to achieve something or maybe gain a new knowledge or just to test yourself, you have to leave your bubble. You have to leave the place that you're happy. I'm not saying that you have to be unhappy when you leave it, but just a little bit of challenge for yourself to see what more I can do.
I think we always work better when we're challenged a little bit, don't we? Anything else you want to talk about to do with Donegal Youth Service or European Youth Information Day?
So basically, once again, I would like to invite everyone or anyone who would like to join us today at 2 p.m. But it's not only today. You can guys visit us every day from Monday to Friday. The center itself, like the Youth Information Center, is open from 12 to 6. Don't forget about the YIK chat that is available Monday to Friday, 4 to 8. And you can always find us on our social media at YIK Letterkenny.
When you engage with young people, particularly within the European context, do you think the next generation and the generation behind them are going to feel or be more European, if you know what I mean? Because it's a relatively new concept. We think about it as if it's always been the case forever, and we can see how it changes with our neighbours across the water. But when you talk to young people, are you educating them about the role Europe has in our lives, or do they already get that, I wonder?
So you see, let's start with basics. Some young people don't even see difference between Europe and European Union.
Yeah.
Okay. So Europe as a continent, yes, and European Union as a community, or whatever we call it, as a union of countries. So it's all about educating them. It's all about showing the level of participation that they can achieve and what they can get out of it. So how much from myself I can give to the community. Let's start with community and then maybe the whole union. And what I will get in return. Yes, it's not like, just the benefits that I want, but just the awareness of who I am, where I am, and what I can do. We're talking about the ecological stuff. We're talking about the social challenges, yes, the refugee crisis. All of these things are part of the European participation.
In a way, though, it's funny the way things are going, in that for many different reasons, it's not necessarily an anti-European sentiment, but a lot of countries are moving to a more nationalist approach. There is growing attitudes, I think, in many countries, France, here, Germany, not pretty much all of them. It's global. You see it in America, you see it in everywhere. You see it in China pulling up the drawbridges, effectively. Yes. Russia, it just seems everywhere that the world is not being seen as a community. It's being seen almost as by some, not all, of course. I don't want to overrepresent it either. But do you get where I'm coming from? We seem to almost be moving away from how we can benefit each other, rather than, no, this is all ours, it's for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely know what you mean, because even the country that I come from, Poland, has changed so much since I left, which was in 2008, that honestly, in terms of mentality and the way the society works and communities work, I just don't recognize this place anymore.
What's changed in Poland?
I don't really want to go into the political...
No, you don't have to. But just, I suppose, the everyday stuff, not necessarily which party is successful or not, but are you saying they're becoming more nationalist, more isolated?
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah. That's exactly the thing that you mentioned, Greg. It's just more about... And I don't know where it's coming from. That's the good question. But
then at the same time, the Polish doors were flung open for people fleeing the war in Ukraine, millions upon millions of people. Now, I presume within Poland there are those saying we can't accommodate all of these people, and then there are others saying we must do what we can for our neighbours, or we could be next. And every country, there is this almost split, this division.
Yes.
Now, I think sometimes it's over-amplified. I've seen a recent study in terms of where people are left, middle or right. Right is relatively small. I think it's 60-odd% of people are centric, right? Yeah. But we don't hear from them. We hear mostly from extreme lefts and extreme rights.
Because, when they're centric, they're like, maybe yes, maybe no. Neutral. It's the worst thing in the world to be neutral, you know what I mean? Yeah. But in terms of like, how can we tie this up to the young people and European movements?
See, I'm very interested to see if the young people coming through revert back to perhaps where we were, or if they're sort of influenced and find themselves being more nationalist than European. We don't know really where it's going to go, and it's kind of interesting, I think.
Honestly, it's hard to predict it, because we still, as a service, we still have a lot of work around the peace, between Northern Ireland and Ireland. We do a lot of projects around this. We do a lot of empowerment and participation in the European structures projects, yes. So I don't really know whether maybe young people pretend very well that they're interested, or maybe there's something happening in their heads already in terms of the nationalism. I haven't noticed, honestly, any signs of this, going to the right path in Donegal. Yeah. No, not really. Not among young people. In our center, we have Syrian young people from Ukraine sometimes, a lot of Polish people, Irish, some of the Germans, and they all coexist in the relatively okay, it's just the cultural changes, cultural differences, but nothing like, I don't like you because you're from Poland.
And I don't think we'll ever kind of really
no
get
antagonism
there. It's strange. We're on a journey. I don't know where it's going.
Exactly.
I think we are all dependent on each other. I think we've got an awful lot to benefit from each other. I think people would like to go and travel and visit in other people's countries and feel welcome and all, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So, but it could just be a phase that we're going through. It's just interesting that it's global, which I find really quite remarkable that, we're supposedly all independent free thinkers. Right across the world, the same thing's happening in every country, in different language, with different religions, with different races and everything. Anyway, but that doesn't affect the work of the Donegal Youth Service. You're still there to help people. We're still receiving European young people in an exchange, aren't we? They're still coming to visit. We've had them up here before.
Yes.
That's back happening again, is it?
Well, unfortunately not yet. And the main reason I would say, it's just like, we have to plan the budget. We have to check the funds that we can get. Yes. And unfortunately, with the current situation with accommodation in Ireland.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that.
And the whole, market, we're not really sure whether we are able to provide the accommodation, unfortunately, and it's very sad. But instead, we focused on the youth exchanges under Erasmus Plus program and funding. So it's cooperation with the third level educational
system,
yes, across the Europe. And we receive students, for example, for like 2 months or maybe 6 weeks. They stay with us, they have the work placement or internship, and it's easier to manage this than having like a group of 4 people. For now, we will see what happens next, but as per now, it's quite difficult to secure and to provide the accommodation to the young people.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, that's another phase that we're going through, that we shall come through the other side. We always do. Right, okay. So again, congratulations on the quality label, recognising the Donegal Youth Service and your Youth Information Centre. It's a very proud day, one to celebrate, of course, and you shall be doing so at 2 p.m, where people can drop in for light refreshments, but also meet the staff. So if someone's listening to this with a young person, call in, drop them in, and it's very welcoming. These are designed to make people feel welcome and informed from the moment they step over the threshold.
Absolutely, yes. It's like a whole, it's like a whole package that you receive.
Yeah.
Smile, good information, good luck, and all of this support.
Kasia, it's always a pleasure to have you in studio to speak to you. Continued success, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again in the not too distant future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay, that is Kasia Kozia, who's Youth Information Officer with the Donegal Youth Service, and we'll be back with more in a moment.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Aeronix to let you know about the Blomberg Integrated Dishwasher, which can save you time and money. When you're pressed for time, you can choose a quick 30-minute or 58-minute wash cycle or an intelligent auto program for perfect wash results every time. The German-engineered inverter motor means it operates at low noise level, so it's whisper quiet. And there's a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Aeronix, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlow.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. Up to 50% off everything in store. All tiles, all wood flooring, all outdoor slabs, cladding and bathware. Everything slashed in price. This sale is not to be missed. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever half-price sale is now on.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €2,300 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. With over 50 years of experience, we pride ourselves in providing a top-class customer experience. Keen fuel prices, convenience shop, hot deli, hardware.
And Frosty's famous special recipe ice cream.
Family-run, helpful staff and service with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Hi, Greg. I was listening to the lady who was struggling to put her daughter through college in Northern Ireland. My two daughters got funding through Student Finance, who help pay tuition fee support for those looking to seek education in the North and in the United Kingdom. You can pay them back monthly after your college course is finished on the basis that you have found employment after college and that you are financially comfortable to pay them back. It's a great service. gov.uk/student finance. It's an option and I really appreciate it. And that's what I love about this programme, in that it was just a text from someone, significant, but you know what I mean, and others calling in, offering support and advice, which is brilliant. Thank you. The thing is though, it is an option, but you know, when you can go to a college in the Republic and get that SUSI grant, which you don't have to pay back, it still feels a little bit unfair, doesn't it, that you might have to borrow, and not everyone might be into long-term borrowing either, but it is an option, and I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to get your phone out and type that out for us, and hopefully that lady's still listening, and maybe it will be an option that will work for them. Okay, we were talking earlier on about rare diseases and a conference taking place a little later on. Janice joins us now on the programme. Thanks for taking the call, Janice. Good morning to you.
No worries. How are you, Craig?
Good. You have an understanding, I think, of what we were talking about. Your daughter was diagnosed with ASH1L. Do you want to tell us what that is before we sort of talk about a more general conversation, Janice?
Yeah, there's not a lot known about it, Greg, to be honest with you. It was only discovered in 2016, so it is still very rare. It's where she had a spontaneous genetic mutation basically when she was in the womb.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for it. So we have two genes. Obviously, ASH1L, she has one that's working and one that's faulty, which is causing this. And then that can go on to cause developmental delay. You know, it can cause autism. There's quite an extensive list, hypotonia and stuff like that, joint hypermobility. So, as I say, there's not a lot known about it. Even the doctors don't know much about it. But it was a long, slow process.
Yeah, it must be very difficult, Janice, to deal with something whereby, you know, you can't get the answers that you seek.
It's the not knowing that gets you.
Yeah.
You know, at least if you know something's going to happen down the line, or you know how is she going to be when she's older. You know, you might feel better about it, but it's the not knowing. But hey, she's her own wee woman, and she's coming on great, and there's no difference on her to anybody else. So she'll get there on her own time.
Now, it did take a long time to get an actual diagnosis. What was that journey like, Janice?
It was long. So in March 2021, we were in hospital, and they were questioning why her development was delayed. So they actually done some genetic blood tests. This was up in Letterkenny, and it came back that there was no abnormality detected. So at this stage then, her paediatric doctor referred her to neurologist in Temple Street. And we had the first appointment there on the 22nd of March. So you were talking 6 or 7 months before we even got that far. They done more genetic bloods, where the bloods were taken from both myself, her daddy, and Amelia, and they were sent off to Germany to be tested. So that took about a further 8 weeks. And then we were called back up to Temple Street on the 24th of November 2021. We were told then that she had a diagnosis of the ASH1L. We were given very little information because, as I say, it's only been discovered in 2016, so the doctors are still very much learning as well. We were kind of given support, and we were told that a genetic counsellor then would contact us in relation, you know, for a wee bit of counselling, basically. and try and help us out and understand it. But that didn't happen until August 2022. So you were talking nearly a year after before we had any kind of counselling or, any further understanding of it. So it was quite slow.
Wow, really slow, really, because you're waiting all the time for the next appointment or an appointment or a call, and you try and keep going, obviously, but you're constantly just wondering, is this letter about that, or it's torture, really, especially too when you want answers, but unfortunately, because this is so rare, the answers aren't necessarily there, but the support's important.
It is, as the genetic counsellor told us, and as far as she was aware and the doctor's aware, Amelia is the only one in Ireland with this diagnosis. Now, she did link us up to a team that, if anyone else was diagnosed in the future, where the parents and stuff can link up, because it does, like, Amelia has scoliosis too, so there's a scoliosis community out there, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
You learn so much from different parents, but at the minute, we're the only ones in Ireland, so we're just kind of very much be like guinea pigs at the minute.
And what does that, but when, that's what I was going to say, well, guinea pigs is maybe half the answer, Janice, but because it's so rare, would the medical profession take a particular interest? Like, could that work to her advantage, or are they all busy concentrating on conditions that are more common? Do you know what I mean? Does it work? Like, are they saying, right, well, we want to give her particular attention because this is so unique?
No. There's no other answer to give you, Greg.
Right.
Not, she's kind of been temporarily discharged from Temple Street, but they're keeping her on the books just in case we do need anything in the future.
And Janice, how do you cope with the not knowing? Because you weren't prepared for this. None of us would be prepared for this. There's no rule book or there's no pathway that your daughter might follow. It must be very difficult for you as a family and for your daughter to sort of deal with that sort of uncertainty, or where are we going to go, or what's going to happen next?
It is hard, like she has a page there on Facebook called Amelia's Scoliosis Story. We went down the scoliosis route because it is maybe more common and more people, you can explain it better because there's more known about it. But in regards to the ASH1L, how do you cope? You have kids, Greg, you just get on with it, don't you? You just have to. You have no choice in the matter. But as I said, she's getting there in her own time. She's trying to do speech and stuff now. I actually posted up videos last night of her saying bye-bye. And like I've always said to the doctors, she'll get there in her own time,
Mum knows best half the time, don't you know? And not half the time, most of the time. Mum knows best. You know, you can see where, in terms of her development, when she's coming and when she'll arrive and stuff. And what could change? I mean, obviously, the delay in the diagnoses and then the delay in receiving the counselling, which I think was critical. I'd love if you'd have got that the day or the next day of being told this information, but you didn't. Is there anything that needs to change going forward for Amelia and you and the family, Janice? Like, or are you content with the support you're being given right now at the moment?
Well, there is no support. I am on the Rare Ireland page as well there on Facebook, and I'm nearly sure I have commented on things and, send on questions and stuff, and that is the support that's there. Them guys, they're all parents or families of someone with what we call a rare disease, and that's where you get your support from. In the long run, we don't know, Greg. We don't know, is much more going to happen if we just take it as it is. Speech, she's meant to be getting speech therapy and OT and physio and stuff like that, but the services just aren't here. I can't even remember the last appointment she had for a physio. We had a fight to get an appointment for auto block because she wears AFOs, and it just feels like a constant battle, but you just have no choice but just to do it.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be like that. I mean, that's the way you're having to approach it, because you'd go mad otherwise, but it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't have to rely on your patience and resilience, or your daughter's, for that matter. And whilst she is very unique, one person with an official ASH1L diagnosis, she is one of over 300,000 people with rare diseases. That's a big community, Janice, that shouldn't be ignored.
It shouldn't be ignored, Greg, but it's, these guys in Rare Ireland, they're constantly fighting as well to try and get services to improve and stuff like that, and it doesn't matter how much people seem to do, you just get nowhere. I'm always told, go on to the HSE or Service USA, and put on a complaint that way, but they have to respond. But does anything change realistically?
Well, that's it. You see, they beat you, they grind you down, don't they? They grind you down to the point that is there any point in kicking up a fuss or making noise? Is it going to get you anywhere? And you almost think that's by design rather than accident, because it kills the spirit when you're trying to balance everything else in real life, Janice. All the other problems in life still persist and you have to deal with them as well.
Well, that's it. We still work, we're still mammas, we're still running a household, we're still doing our everyday things. And you do fight, it is a constant battle, and it has been for the last over 2 years. You're constantly making phone calls, doing emails, pushing. I have to advocate for Amelia because there's nobody else there that's going to do it.
Yeah, but listen, it's across the board.
And believe me, it does wear you down a lot, but you have to just pick yourself up and get on with.
Of course, because if you look at it, right, who are the ones fighting for these children? It's the parents that are also caring for them. Who are the groups that are providing the supports and what have you that the HSE should be? It's often parents that band together to provide some respite care or some other type of care that's required. This should be the responsibility of the state, not people like you and others who find themselves having to fight and provide services when, in fact, as I say, it should be the state doing so.
It should be the state. You've started on main care now, Greg. My son's 19, and he's actually took on the role as a carer for Amelia, so I can continue working. And he's been trying to claim carers allowance. We're now in April. He's been refused, even though he is providing full-time care for her when I'm working, doing everything that basically I feel like I should be doing. But I have to work because I have to pay for trips to Dublin and stuff like that to get her up there. And we're still fighting for it. So, as you say, you've hit the nail on the head. It all comes down to the government and the HSE. Why are they not providing this and making it a wee bit easier for us in a difficult situation already?
It's so much of an advantage to the state for that care officially to be provided in-house. You know what I mean? Like your son is doing, and fair play to him. It's a no-brainer to support him in what he's doing, because if he can't, you can't work, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? The cheapest option for the state is to support your son in the work that he's doing. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of love and care for his sibling, don't get me wrong, but he has to make career decisions based on providing full-time care as well. It makes no sense.
Well, that's it. He's 19 years of age. He has a life to live as well, So when he's actually hoping to start a job next week, because it's just getting to the stage that he can't keep. Well, he's not going with nothing. Obviously, I'm helping him out.
I know. Yeah,
it's been 6-7 months now, and he hasn't had a penny in his pocket. It's not right.
No, he should be supported. And okay, I don't know what we can do to try and help progress that with you. If there's anything, we'll maybe have a chat with Caroline to see if we can make any representations or whatever, in case it made a difference. I don't know. But listen, thanks so much for joining us. Love to all, and hopefully the system changes so people like you don't have to put up with what you're putting up with. But I appreciate your time this morning. And just tell people again of the Facebook page in case they want to follow your daughter's journey.
It's Amelia's scoliosis story, so there's going to be quite a few updates now in the next couple of months there as well, because there's a lot going on at the minute.
Yeah, that's another battle as well, in and of itself. Okay, listen, thanks, Janice. As I say, best wishes to everyone.
All right, great. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Thanks so very much indeed. Right, we'll be back with a few comments to wrap things up after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Irish National Opera presents the French classic romantic opera Werther, a masterly portrayal of hopeless love between the passionate poet Werther and a married woman. An opera full of sweeping melodies, including one of the world's most famous tenor arias. At Angreenan Theatre, Letterkenny on Saturday the 22nd of April. Tickets from €27. See angreenan.ie. Funded by the Arts Council.
I've lost my car keys. Lost my car once in a multi-story. Lost my patience. My hair? Lost that a while back. But this week, I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. I got free hearing aids with PRSI. And now those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. Still can't find those keys, though.
Book a free hearing test today. Terms and conditions apply. See our website for details. McGinley's Furniture have a huge spring sale now on. It includes selected suites, beds, mattresses, living room and dining room furniture. Also savings on occasional furniture, including lamps, pictures and mirrors. With up to 40% off. It's one furniture sale you don't want to miss. That's on right now at McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Are you looking for good value on a used car? At iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin, you can choose from over 150 cars, all fully serviced with NCT and warranty. We can even arrange your finance within 1 hour. View our stock at imotors.ie.
Hi, Bree Jean here from McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tides, Buncrana. Our massive marquee sale starts this Wednesday the 19th. Are you renovating your bathroom or kitting out a new home? Massive savings to be made on all wall and floor tiles. That's the McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tides, Buncrana massive marquee sale. Starts this Wednesday.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a European city break this summer? Discover the beautiful cities of Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. 6 flights a week for summer 2023. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Short but relatively sweet. Another pleasant day of sunny spells and just a few scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees in light to moderate southeast breezes. We're in the last part of the 9 till noon show. You're very welcome back to it. John Breslin on the way, of course, around the northwest just after the news at 12. A caller says, again, the vegan anti-farming agenda. So burning oil, petrol or diesel and airline fuel in Sarah's mind is less damaging than animals grazing natural grown grass, which in itself sequestered carbon to grow, therefore improving the environment. The lunatics really are now running the asylum, he believes. Or they believe, sorry, I don't know what gender the person is. Regards to horse racing, I personally hate it, but I cannot see it banned. All they have to do is reduce the numbers of horses racing and make jumps safer. And that is not true about being cared. Yes, some are well cared for, but are we forgetting about a few years back, an owner of a horse smiling, sitting on top of a horse, taking pictures, and there's loads of other evidence of cruelty. Okay, I get you and I remember that, but is it reflective of the entire industry? I would doubt it, but I understand your views. The Irish state gives millions each year to horse and greyhound racing, which are minority sports, while our National Parks and Wildlife Service get only a fraction of what horses and greyhound racing gets. Where are our priorities? It's billionaires who benefit by these monies, not the mass of people, which I think is pretty accurate. Sarah needs to understand, how would you feed the nation without farmers? The farmers are doing more than most sectors to reduce carbon. The plant-based diet that she talks about is not as healthy as she talks about, and we need red meat in our diet, which we have survived on for years. I mean, we were speaking to a specialist earlier on about bone disease, and they said you have to give children full-fat milk. They need it. There's no other way of replacing it. A caller says, I had no idea about horses dying at the Grand National. 3 dead over the festival. My family won't engage with any horse racing events again. Shame on those blaming the protesters. What about the horses that died earlier that day? Indeed. And it wasn't as bad this year as it has been in the past. Hi, Greg. I'm certainly not into the woke culture either, but horse racing is heartless. 3 beautiful horses lost their lives over the 3 days of the week event. That comes in from Mary, but those horses then at the same time perhaps wouldn't even have existed if it wasn't for horse racing. I don't know. More comments on that and other things to bring you tomorrow morning when we return at 9 o'clock. But for me, Greg Hughes and all of the team, great to be back with you again, and we'll be back with you again tomorrow at 9. Have a great day.
The 9 till noon show is brought